welcome to episode 168 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills. I'm joined as always by Mr. Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. We're using the magazine Zapped 64 as a monthly guide for the games to focus on, but we are in no way affiliated with Zapped 64 itself. This week, we start our look at January 1991 and the first batch of games reviewed in issue 69, dude, of Zapped 64, along with what was also going on in the UK singles and albums chart that month. Graham, have our New Year's resolution requests for good games to play come true? Or is it another case of more of the bloody same?
We are back and now turn our retro-flavoured attention to the year 1991. I tell you what, there was already a lot of crazy stuff happening. Scud missiles flying about, Iron Maiden at the top of the UK pop charts. Crazy. And so in the month that also saw Sergeant Slaughter defeat the Ultimate Warrior for the WWF Championship belt, we join an elite US military force and attempt some sneaky infiltration missions with a loud machine gun and some rocket launchers in the fancy and expensive C64 cartridge game Navy SEALs, and then jump into the cockpit of an F-14 and go all renegade and angry at the drug cartels of South America as we launch strikes against the Dusty Lulu manufacturers and argue barmy dealers in Snowstrike. There was a lot of nation-to-nation saber-rattling and military action in 1991. Very troubled times indeed. Luckily, you could always escape the wall-to-wall TV war footage by playing games based around war and infiltration. Weird when you think the BBC banned the playing of John Lennon's Imagine at the same time. Anyway, while we reflect in the futility of banning music, we slip neatly into our bluest of blue outfits and then go strolling and somersaulting once again along the tree-strewn byways of magenta as we try and do some blocky rescuing in the laughable Strider 2 before finally taking a trip to some ball-bouncing and alien-squashing arcade-style puzzle levels as either Billy or Bobby in the confusing and time-challenged Helter Skelter. 1991 has certainly landed with a military-style salute. It's a world of mostly unknowns too, as by now we are firmly in unknown C64 game territory. Let's see what this year brings us. Do they start as they mean to go on? That's the question, isn't it?
Well, we don't know. I mean, usually we have an inverse bell curve for the quality of the games, don't we? We get good at the beginning, good at the end, shit in the middle.
We may, for the first time ever, be breaking that tradition, good and proper. Let's see, though. You never know. You never know. Quite a few.
You never know. We never know. So it's a new year, 1991. It's a new season, season 7.
Seven.
This is 7 of 8.
It is, yeah, like a good Borg.
Absolutely.
Sevens were always the nicest of the Borg brothers. Never trusted the 8s or the 6s particularly.
No,
always
that's for the
digging
3s.
your garden up and burying things.
Absolutely. Ramming the nodules into your eyes.
Okay. I never had that with the Borgs I was frequenting with at the time. They were just an untrustworthy collective, really.
Absolutely. Well, you get what you get. What we used to get from Four Boys was always
Four Borgs.
Four Borgs was always a bit hit and miss.
The Borg shop of choice is Four Borg. 5 of 4. Go to 4 Borgs.
4 Borgs, absolutely. Is an alien's favourite shop Jess Tate's?
Oh, you set up a thing now. I'm not even getting into that, but you fill your boots on any of them. Bloody hell, they could go mad.
Should we look at the cover? I mean,
do we have to?
I don't know. I don't want to.
Do.
It makes my eye hurt.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know what this is. So, obviously, let's start off with your favourite pet hate, the box around the Zapped 64. It's still there.
Yeah, and for this, for the first time ever, that's not the worst thing about it.
I don't know what. Well,
something's gone wrong, hasn't it? I mean, that's the first thing. Something's gone wrong. I don't know who may or may not be responsible. Ollie Frey's done the artwork, some of it, I think.
Yeah, Ollie Frey. It's copyright Ollie Frey. It says in the magazine it's Ollie Frey.
So Ollie Frey's done it. Now, this isn't a criticism of Oliver Frey, because there's a drawing of RoboCop. There's a bit of it's RoboCop 2, isn't it? So there's Kane from RoboCop in the background a bit, and there's RoboCop, and it looks like RoboCop, fair enough. And it's a classic action thing, so there's flames, there's always flames in the background with these things, and there's people being shot and stuff like that. What's gone wrong for me is that somebody's obviously described Narc to Ollie Frey, and he's kind of done an interpretation of that, considering throughout the entire game they wear motorcycle helmets. And so I think it's Narc, maybe it's something else. I don't know. The problem isn't Ollie Frey's artwork in this, actually, although it isn't his best work, I'll say that. But it's for him, that's even on a bad day, he turns out some good stuff. It's not bad. The problem here is the typesetting. He's gone mad. He has lost it. He has lost the plot. It's all over the place. It's everywhere. And there's parts that don't make sense. It's absolutely crazy.
I'm going to say one thing. Does the italicized R in RoboCop 2 annoy you?
Yes. So does the italicized N on Narc as well.
Why is that? I mean, okay, the Narc leans in a bit. And on Nuke as well, I think, as addictive as Nuke.
They've done all the starting letters have got an italicized capital.
Oh, they haven't the two full games. Why is the F? Oh, this is bad, isn't it?
So just to call out things that made me instantly laugh, all right, on this was exclusive Super Monaco GP work in progress. I'm like, that doesn't sound like a good exclusive.
It's also really hard to read and small and just in the middle of nowhere.
And it's also not on the cover tape.
No.
So what's so exclusive in it? And then it says on your Brill tape. It just sounds crap, and it's like an afterthought. It's bad. 2 full games, 2 spectacular demos. All right, 2 of them are full games. I'll give you that. One of them, okay, well maybe touch on that. But no, this is just typed all over. It says Narc, the ultimate bloodbath, but it's kind of buried in amongst you can't really see it. It says massive. Is that massive something? Massive US gold poster calendar.
Yeah, because they've italicized the U in US.
Yeah, why? Why has that become a thing? They've not done it for the L in Lucasfilm, but they have for Night Shift.
I don't know
what's going on.
I don't know
what's going on. And then I love that it says Navy SEALs covert action in the Middle East, and there's a giant explosion with people being gunned down. That doesn't look so covert to me. Maybe I'll call me old-fashioned.
No, it's not. It's not a great. I looked at this and was like, I don't know. Lots of shooting, lots of people wielding guns for reasons.
Yeah, it's hard on the eye. There's a lot of action stuff going on all over the place. It's hard to make sense of what's part of what game and in what way. The only main thing that makes sense is RoboCop's head, because it looks like RoboCop. Yeah. If you hadn't seen RoboCop 2, the addictive as Nuke comment would make no sense whatsoever, nor would the image in the top right-hand corner, because you wouldn't know that was Kane. So if you haven't seen RoboCop 2, you'd be looking at it going, what the hell is that?
No. RoboCop's body's a bit twisted as well, isn't it?
I wasn't going to be critical of it, but yes, it is. He's sort of showing off a bit of robo-arse cheek curve. There's like, don't grade me on the curve.
It's weird, actually, because that's normally what you would have seen a sort of female character pose, isn't it?
Yes, it is a bit.
The classic sort of showing ass and tit, basically.
Yeah, it's got a bit of leg going on.
Yeah, but it's odd to see that, and I don't know, so maybe that's quite interesting. But yeah, it's a bit weird. It's just I don't know, but I think it's just the way he's aiming his gun. I'm not sure RoboCop can twist that way.
No, not without metal on metal action going on there. You did
somebody must have loosened his screwdrivers. His screws. So somebody's gone in with a bit. Could you just loosen that one a bit so I can turn a bit more?
Yeah, because if you weren't careful, what's left of his body is going to get pinched really nasty, like a sharp pinch, wouldn't it? Like a blood wheel. He'd get a blood wheel on that.
He would. It'd make his USB spike pop out.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, oh, sorry. He keeps doing that.
Every time I turn, I stab someone in the eye.
Oh, you've broken my USB drive, you dickhead. That's not even the USB port.
It's not USB-C, it's USB. Ow.
You've just shoved your bloody prong into my joystick port. You've broken my... you dickhead. Get out.
And protect the innocent.
I'll go and protect the innocent. Yeah, go and do that. You bloody robo dickhead. Get out.
Robo knob.
Was it my fault? Oh, sorry again. For God's sake, you broke the door handle. Now get out. Yeah, and then the only other comment to make up for me anyway is the blue-faced man. It's the mystery of the blue-faced man. Why has he got a blue face? What is that?
I presume is he? I don't know. It looks quite bondagey.
Is he a drug man? Is he a drug man?
Is he a narc criminal?
No, because they don't look. Well, maybe they don't look like that in the actual version. In the C64 version, it's hard to tell what they are.
It is. We'll come to that in a moment. Should we leave this behind and just talk about the cover tape?
It's a bit of a mess.
There's not much saying that. So the cover tape has got 2 full games. One of them. Have we looked at Subterranea before? It seemed familiar.
We must have done. Yes, I think we have. I don't know. I didn't look into what scores we gave it. I feel like we have. So I feel like we have.
So Subterranea is some left to right scrolling shooter by Huge Bins. Yeah. Huge Bins.
It is. It's good graphics and stuff. It's
good graphics. Playable is a bit. It's not
rock hard.
That well.
Really difficult.
Yeah. Did you enjoy? Is it Velnor's Lair?
No. It's a game in BASIC. I mean, it's as basic as it gets. It's basic.
Yeah.
It's an adventure game in BASIC. There's no doubt about that. I was a bit disappointed when it loaded. It was like, what class do you wish to be? Your classes are warrior, wizard, priest. Right, okay. It seems pretty limiting, and it says class ? It's obviously it's an input statement. I mean, okay, maybe it's complex BASIC. I don't know, but BASIC is what it is. Brown on yellow, though. I don't know.
No. Warrior, wizard, and priest are like the three archetypal looks for men in rock bands in the early 80s.
Maybe this is a rock band simulator. Yeah, that's so true. My God, yeah, it really is.
If you think of things like Man of War and stuff like that.
Yeah, what do you wish to be? Warrior, wizard, or priest? I don't know. I was wanting to go for a different look. Those are the three acceptable looks.
Absolutely, with the hair, but it wasn't very good. I mean,
no, it wasn't.
Snow. Then there was a demo of Wrath of the Demon.
Yeah, one level of with lots of grand claims at the start of that.
Ooh, lots. 1 megabyte of data, of graphics data.
Yeah, which doesn't even fit on a floppy disk, does it? So that's quite clever. Compressed, I'm guessing.
How big's a floppy disk? It's about 170. Is it 180?
170k, yeah. Yeah, it's not a megabyte of anything. Nowhere near.
No, so you'd need about 7 of them.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe they must mean compressed, I guess, but technically that's a bit cheaty, isn't it? It's a bit like MP3 and I don't know. But either way, the level's very impressive, certainly in the way it looks.
Yes. Yeah, it does look nice, yeah.
Not so much in the way it plays.
No, it's a bit thump things fly backwards, and like you notice when you fly off the horse, it's quite amusing.
Oh, that had me in stitches. It's like, ah! It flew off. He just flew off. It's like, wow, okay. No, the horse died. I get it, but he just flew off.
That'll be interesting when we actually get to the review of that.
Music's good, though. Music was good,
yeah. We got a demo of Narc as well.
Yeah, blocky. So blocky.
Do you shoot? I'm not particularly familiar with Narc. I've not played it that much. I know you're more familiar. Do you shoot from your feet in the game, in the arcade?
No, you shoot from the machine guns that you hold. So,
because I was shooting from my gun and my feet.
Yeah, there's something has gone wrong with the demo of that because I was playing thinking this has got multiplex issues already. It's just a demo.
Well, they've got to fix them, I suppose.
It's of Narc at this point, and I have to say the music was good, but I also have to say that it is it's almost Narc. I mean, it's not going to be any good if it carries on like that, but it's almost Narc.
So it didn't Narc you too much.
No, at this point, no. But I know that the actual finished game is a load of dog egg, but we'll come to that at some point.
Okay. Yay, something to look forward to.
Yeah. I didn't get narked off at this point. I was like, all right, it's sort of a playable version of the first level-ish. They're trying to capture it, of the sort of madness of it all, but as soon as the multiplexer started going, oh, here we go. Then bullets came out my feet and at my back. I'm like, oh, it's all the multiplex has broken its brain. It's gone badly wrong.
It's gone badly wrong. They might fix it though for the finish.
Maybe we'll see.
Finish game. We'll see. So there you go. That's the cover and the cover tape. We've got 4 games this week to kick off the year. So shall we get into those?
I think it's time.
I think it's time indeed. So let's get to our first game of 1991. And this one is Navy Seals.
Ooh.
This was £19.99 cartridge game. It's a cartridge game.
Cartridge.
It's a Sizzler, got 92%.
It did.
It's another big ocean opener for the year. With, like I said, cartridge only release. The home computer version of the Big Screen Smash.
Okay. Was it a smash?
I don't think so. Navy Seals. So it's like I said, cartridge only. It's 20 quid of your hard-earned pounds. I chucked that into an inflation calculator. That is £53 today.
Goodness me, of your Earth money. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, crikey. So anyway, this was programmed by John Megan. After playing this, it will come as no surprise that he did RoboCop, The Untouchables, and Rastan, among others.
Yes, it definitely uses the Megan engine.
Yeah, with graphics by Sit or Stephen Ian Thompson. He also did visuals on RoboCop, The Untouchables, among others. And the music is by Matthew Cannon, who did The Untouchables and Batman, among others as well. So it's a team. They've worked together. They know each other.
They know each other well.
Yeah, that's it. So what exactly... So before we get into this, obviously it's our cover game. What exactly are the Navy SEALs?
That's a very good question.
Or to give them their full title, the United States Navy, Sea, Air and Land Teams. SEALs, Sea Airlines, SEAL. According to the wiki for them, they are the US Navy's primary special operations force and a component of the Naval Special Warfare Command. Among the SEALs' main functions are conducting small unit special operation missions in maritime, jungle, urban, Arctic, mountainous, and desert environments. They could have just said anywhere.
Anyway, yeah, but not.
Not urban. No, urban's there, jungle's there, Arctic. Not in woods. They don't go in woods. They
no
don't
wooded
like
areas.
Woods.
Yeah,
no wooded areas. Mountainous, desert, Arctic. I can't think of anywhere else.
Alien.
Maybe. Don't do it on the moon. SEALs are typically ordered to capture or kill high-level targets or to gather intelligence behind enemy lines. SEAL team personnel are hand-selected, highly trained, possess a high degree of proficiency in unconventional warfare, direct action, and special reconnaissance, among other tasks like sabotage, demolition, intelligence gathering, and hydrographic reconnaissance. Training.
And also looking over their shoulders.
Looking over the shoulders, yeah. And advising friendly militaries or other forces. This, dubious all this. All active SEALs are members of the US Navy. So that's what they are.
Navy SEALs, there you go.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into the full history of the Navy SEALs. I will put a link into the wikis where I got this. So you can go and have a read. It's because it's a very big, extensive Wikipedia
extensive entry for them. Yeah, absolutely.
In order to get the full effects of the game, because I'd never seen it, I did go and watch the film Navy SEALs for this review.
Good thing you did that.
I tried to. The only exposure I had previous to it was in the scene in Clerks. Ooh, Navy SEALs. I wasn't sure what to expect. It wasn't good. I got to the bit where they just break off after going on to go play golf in stupid shorts. I was like, I'm done. I'm out of it.
Right.
I don't want to watch anymore. I'm out. Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous. Anyway, so we'll leave it at that. Gets back to the game. The instructions to the game are sparse. For a big game, they're sparse. They don't really seem to give you a lot of information to what's going on or why. So what you get is this. America's top secret weapon. Supercharged super fighters who risk all defending America against the world's deadliest forces. A combat unit of indomitable strength and courage. A rescue team of unparalleled skill and daring.
Ooh.
There you go. Scenario. The Gulf of Oman and a secret location welcomes the arrival of the elite SEAL team. I don't like that line.
No.
Don't like it.
No.
Their objective, to rescue the crew of a recently shot down helicopter. Then Beirut. A dangerous stockpile of missiles must be destroyed before terrorists have a chance to use them. Only the SEAL team have the capability to complete the mission. You control the team. You control the action. You hold the fate of innocent lives in your hands.
Okay.
Are you prepared for this, Graham? Are you? I did find it odd that it had the name Graham in the manual, but there you go. It's a bit weird.
I get around.
You get around. The game starts fast. So just starts, because we did play the cartridge version, as you would expect from a cartridge, and it's got some proper glitz and glamour in the front end of this, hasn't it? Some nice,
just a bit, yeah.
Some nice bits going on at the front end. First up, we get the Ocean logo, and I love the way they've done this on a shiny plaque. On a shiny plaque, and it's got 1990 in Roman numerals, and nothing says fancy like a logo in Roman numerals.
I know all the serif fonts you want in this. Absolutely,
yeah. It's like, oh, that's fancy.
Times New Roman, you devils.
That's faked out. We get some very nice credits. We get the Ocean and Orion Pictures logos. Then we get a great Navy SEALs logo image showing the Special Warfare Insignia. This is also known as the SEAL Trident.
Didn't know
that's
that.
what it is, which is an eagle carrying a trident, which, and I'll just quote again from the, there's actually a wiki entry for this. This recognizes those members of the United States Navy who have completed the basic underwater demolition SEAL, they call it Budweiser training. They've completed SEAL qualification training, SQT, and have been designated as US Navy SEALs.
Wow, that must be some training.
So to get that's what you got done. It's really well drawn, this, though. It's a very nice, Sit's done a very good job here. Shaded, it goes for, and that actually goes for all the interstitial screens we're going to see throughout this game, because there's quite a few. We then get the credits. Now, all this is very similar in style to what we saw with the Untouchables. Very similar. But they've jettisoned that comedy nonsense that we moaned about with the Untouchables. Remember. So they've kept it straight here, and it works much better. This is a nice intro. This is a really good intro. Good music. The music playing at the top is pretty good too. Fits the game. To my mind. And this whole opening sequence, it's a really, okay, we've got a cartridge, we're going to use some space, we're going to take some time. This is nice presentation. This works really well. Pressing fire brings us up some options. We can change between music and sound effects by pressing up. If we pull down, we can look at the high score, or we can just press fire and start the game. So press fire, start the game. We get like a small interstitial, like a map. It's like a map screen or sort of six areas. The game we're going to make our way through to complete the game. So according to the instructions, these are level 1, the harbour. You come ashore at the terrorist base. Plant detonators at each Stinger missile, avoiding guards or eliminating them where necessary. In some levels, crates can be shot to reveal extra weapons and gain bonus points. Okay. Level 2, the communications tower. After the tower has been secured, all terrorist communication links will be severed and enemy reinforcements will not be summoned. 3, the barracks. The SEALs must storm the barracks and remove any resistance. They're getting bored of writing now.
And covert's gone out the window here.
Level 4, rescue the hostage. Plant detonators on all Stinger missiles, then make your way to the prison where the pilot is being held, and then make your escape.
Oh, we did level 5. Level 1.
Yeah. Level 5, escape from Port Virginia. Escape from Port Virginia complex and destroy the final cache of Stinger missiles.
Yeah.
Then it switches to mission 2. So they've gone through these levels within mission 1, and then mission 2 is just one level. It's the streets of Beirut. Make your way through the war-torn streets of Beirut, where you will encounter extreme resistance from the murderous militia. Your ultimate goal is to rendezvous with a submarine, which will take you to safety. Interestingly, the film starts off with the helicopter getting shot down. One of the SEALs is getting married. They're taking him to get married. Basically, just as the bride is walking up the aisle, they get called into action, so he has to run off. The groom is one of the SEAls. She's like, "Are you kidding? This is bad timing." Like, sorry, it's bad timing. They just leg it.
They don't do that.
They just go. And so they all go, and then they rescue the pilot, and they find the Stinger missiles, but they don't blow them up. They go back. So this is kind of a bit all over the place with kind of that bit where it says rescue the hostage. That's kind of what you've been the pilot. They do that in the first 20 minutes of the film.
They do.
So anyway. I'm just going to say, I think at this point, and something we do talk about in the podcast, I'm just going to mention the politics of the game and obviously the film itself. Yeah, I'm just going to put it in here. So they're firmly entrenched in Western jingoism of the early 90s. So in the real world, you've got to put this into context. The first Gulf War was taking place. The enemy was clearly anyone from the Middle East, and the West was, we were the shining face of goodness and democracy. That was what was being portrayed. That was what the media was full of. This is the primary view of the film. The game doesn't really deviate from that. No. I mean, and so it's easy to pull the game apart on that level, and you'd be right to do so. You spend the entire game killing Middle Eastern terrorists, and that's what you do. You know, creeping around, killing them. If that doesn't sit right with you, then you probably give the game a miss, because that's what this game is. There's you don't do anything else. Through a modern lens, it's pretty distasteful. I mean, there's a new Call of Duty game just about to come out. I don't think big games have moved on all that much.
No.
They're still doing this kind of thing. One last thing, though, and I just want to refer to this because I'm going to put that to one side. You can take that as you want. One last thing is that the instructions, they do in the instructions which I've read it, they refer to the enemies as terrorists. Okay, and that's, I guess, justifying the right to fight to some degree. They're terrorists. They're doing what they're doing. Yeah. Blah blah blah. Okay, the Zapped review is weird because throughout it they just call them Arabs.
That's not good.
There's never a mention. It's a word not mentioned once in the instructions. I looked through the instructions. There's not the word Arab is never mentioned in the Zapped review. There's like, you get shoot loads of Arabs.
That's not good at all.
No, I think it's odd, highly dubious. At best, it's just not good.
No, it's not.
I just thought I'd point it out because it was weird. Because I thought, oh, is that in the instructions? But it's not. It's just an angle that they've chosen to use. So make of that what you will. Anyway. Starting in the harbour, let's get to the game. Starting in the harbour, you control a pretty well-defined SEAL. And you must make your way around the level, planting detonators at the Stinger missile locations. The screen is split, top 2/3 being the game window, and the UI takes up the bottom third. I think if you recall the opening level to the Untouchables, this is very similar. So that bit where you were bouncing around within the warehouse. What they've done is, aside from the UI, they've moved the UI from the top. It was at the top in Untouchables. They've moved it to the bottom in this. But essentially, it's the same kind of layout for the UI, same kind of layout for the game. It's very similar to that. So similar to the Untouchables, the UI is made up of various squares. On the left, you've got the current SEAL you are controlling with their name and an image of them. And these are characters from the film, which is cool, but they're not mentioned in the instructions at all. So You're like, who are they? You could have had a bit of write-up about them in the instructions, perhaps. Bit of an oversight. if you want to create some attachment to these guys and, you'd want to give them something. These are this person. But the problem is, I think they're kind of at odds because the playable sprite never changes no matter who you are playing. You're always the same person, the same, you die a few times and then because what happens if you die, then you basically get a new face in the bottom left, but it's the same. You're playing the same character. Yeah. So it seems redundant to be there, aside from some callback to the film, I guess, but I guess what it is. Next to this, you have your current weapon, number of shots left. If you've got one of the special weapons, you pick up one of the bonus weapons. If not, you got your pistol. Then there's a bomb with a timer on it. Then there's the remaining number of Stinger missiles to find in the level. Then your score and the level timer. Okay. The game itself plays out like a cross between the opening levels of Batman and the Untouchables. So is where I sort of put this. You control your seal with the joystick with left and right to run and down to crouch. Up and the up diagonals enable you to jump, and fire shoots your weapon left or right. There are ladders and hanging chains that you can grab onto in order to climb them. You can also grab onto the underside of platforms, which is quite a nice touch, and either flip yourself up onto them or shimmy along underneath them to reach certain parts of the level, which I quite liked. There's some nice little control elements to this. There are some issues, but as to how you can navigate the space, that's quite interesting. That's quite good. The game is presented in 2D. It's a multi-directional scrolling affair, and as noted, you run and climb and shoot your way around the levels trying to find the Stinger missiles that are in these you can't miss them. They're in these big red crates. You don't need to do anything as well to them. You just run over them, and that's quite nice. So we had this in another game where you just run over stuff and it just happens. So you just run through them and then it automatically plants the bombs on them. You need to plan your route carefully, though, because terrorists lurk in the most awkward of places, and one shot from them kills that Marine. Should you lose all 5, then it's game over and back to the title screen for you. And this is tricky. The enemies will run about. They will chase you at times, clambering over crates just like you, and you must pick your time to fight back, as you can only shoot 1 bullet at a time from your opening gun, which is a pistol, and it takes a couple of seconds or so to fire another one, which is a bit frustrating. The enemies will also see you if you are below or above them, and they will shoot at you up or down and at diagonals through the platforms. So again, care must be taken, but not too much, because you've got that timer and it's tight for all levels.
It certainly is.
It's 4 minutes on the first mission, and it goes up slightly as you progress from one to the next. Look at like 4:15, 4:30. Don't go up very much. So you're always on this tight run of this game. So each of the first 5 missions is primarily the same. Okay. So different location, but you have to find all the boxes marked with a US flag on them in order to progress to the next one. Once you found the last one, you automatically load into the next one. At the end of some missions, you'll be treated to some well-drawn interstitial screens that look great. Really cool. Some nice bits and bobs. And when you die, there's a sort of image of the sort of US flag emblazoned, US flag covered coffin, and it's all very well drawn. In between some of the screens, there's like you with a gun or there's stuff going on. They're nice. It's like I said, Sit's done a really good job with those interstitial graphics. And then if you have completed level, you get your end of level bonus, and you get a bonus as well for time left, I think, and the amount of men you've got left, or amount of people are not dead. As the missions progress, you'll get, the levels do open up, so there's things like lifts and all that kind of thing to sort of navigate, and they get a bit more tricky. You can blow up some crates, as noted in the instructions, to find better weapons, such as automatic rifles and bazookas. Covert.
So covert.
So covert.
They've got silencers on them, it's okay.
Well, I was going to say, I put a silencer on my bazooka sort of thing, so when it explodes, it just...
Yeah, it's like...
It's just a breathuka.
It's a Muttley laughing in the background. That's what it sounds like.
That does seem like overkill, because your only enemy in this game is the same terrorist, no matter what the mission. There is only one enemy throughout the game. They're always the same. Should you get past the 5th mission and escape from Port Virginia and make it to the streets of Beirut, then the game turns into the first level of RoboCop. With you moving through the streets in a left to right run and gun shooter, whilst enemies come running at you from both directions and lean out of the windows above you to jump down or take pot shots at you. You make it through this, you get the commendation of your country and a nice high score, and well done, you completed the game. So essentially this is 5 levels. It's kind of what we saw. Structurally, it reminded me of that weird Yogi game where you've got 4 or 5 levels exactly the same and then a completely different level at the end.
Random one at the end, yeah.
Totally. So it's kind of like that. Not in that, but that's what the structure of this game, that's what it is. So it's essentially the first level of Untouchables, ramped up, made bigger, or maybe the first level of Batman, whatever, then becomes RoboCop for the finale. And so There are good things, and I'll talk about the good things first here. Okay, in this game, the visuals are great. They're really good. Really good throughout, yes. I thought the visuals are really nice. The images in the game are all very well done. They work well in context of creating the various missions. In-game, the backgrounds, very well drawn throughout. Great use of shadow and shade to give depth to the backgrounds. The crates look forward. Everything's got some nice depth to it. There is some nice, it doesn't look flat, even though it's 2D. There's some really nice shade and stuff going on here. Great touches like, cracked walls, things like that. Little details in the background that make it look nice. The lift is good. Everything looked good. The look of the game is cohesive and works well. Same goes for the sprites as well, which are again very well drawn. They use the tried and tested Ocean method, high-res overlays on multicolored sprites to give them more definition, and they're well animated. They look good. I can't knock the visuals. The various animations are well done. From the basic running, I really like, climbing on crates is well done. Flipping up onto platforms is really nice. The way you sort of flip over and onto them, that's really good. Like nice little sprite animation, or shimmying underneath them as you flip your arms left to right. It's good. The animation of your main character is excellent. Same goes for the enemies as well. Run and clamber around in a similar fashion to you. The music throughout is nice and tense. I actually did like the music in this game. Most of it, I didn't like the interstitial bit. It's a bit too jolly. But the main theme through the levels is quite good. It's tense. It's got a good, it's an infiltration theme. It fits it. It's a nice bass hum, mostly punctuated by slow drum beats. There's a tension. It creates tension. We've said loads of times before that get the music right and you can add something. And I think this works well. Like Midnight Resistance had the action, this has the tension. Has a good atmosphere and it adds to it. So the sound effects as well, pretty decent if you play with them on. Best playlist though is with the music. Scrolling, nice and smooth. There's a small little raster glitch in the top left from time to time. Nothing too egregious. It all works. It all works. It's technically very proficient, this game. The levels themselves are also well designed. I thought a challenge to make your way through. And another thing I like, the various routes you can take through them. It's not always just go to the right, which I've tried to do at first. You've got to take your time to figure out the best way to progress. And learning the placement of enemies is essential, and where the Stinger missiles are, because they're dotted about the place. So it does lend this a more considered feel than a lot of similar run and gun games. It's in a particular run and gun. If you run and gun, you'll die very quickly.
Absolutely,
your game will be over in seconds. So you can't do that. It's a covert mission, so the levels do. But okay, so we'll come to why that's a problem in a moment, though. But yeah, so you have to be a bit sort of considered. Finding any of the boxes also instantly checkpoints you there when you die. Great touch. Great. On any enemies you've killed will stay dead and not respawn. So those things I really like. Those elements of this game have been thought about, and I like what they do with that sort of thing. They're not so good. The controls, they're not quite as smooth as you'd like them to be. So you can't jump onto crates. You've got to kind of stand next to them and press up to clamber up on them. So it feels a little bit stilted and a bit beleaguered. It doesn't feel particularly very smooth. Same with dropping off from them. There's a bit too much animation, a bit too much, and you can't do anything. Many times I'll be clambering up or down and get shot. It just suddenly appeared, because enemies will just appear from off the screen. And because I was stuck in my animation, there's nothing I could do. Which leads me to my next point, and that is your lack of abilities. Okay, you can run and shoot, but you cannot shoot when climbing ladders. So after we spoke about this in Midnight Resistance, that seems so restricting now. It was one of the things we picked up on. You can't shoot on chains. You can't shoot when falling. That was the thing we said about Batman, if you remember. I know Zach Townsend did Batman, but this is the thing we said about Batman, that you couldn't do stuff while you were doing something else. Worst of all, though, you can't fire at angles.
Nope.
But the enemies can. It's unfathomable. The enemies can shoot you from platforms below or above you in full 8 directions. You can shoot to the left and right. I don't get this. I don't understand it. And then you can only shoot when you stood up. You can't even shoot when crouched.
Stupid.
It really does. I don't know whether they were trying to limit you because it's they've gone for this stealthy option, but I've got a shoulder with a rotational joint. I can aim upwards. The enemies can.
What kind of navigators are they? It's very joint restricted.
Absolutely.
How did they get in?
Except, though, for when you get to the final mission in Beirut, and you suddenly remember you have, like I said, a rotatable shoulder and can fire up and diagonally. Because it's a RoboCop part.
Yes.
So
Yes,
I don't understand this decision. It makes the game way harder than it needs to be, because you need to get yourself onto a level with the enemy to take them down, whereas they can take you down from all angles and often do. It gets particularly egregious when you get more than one enemy on screen on different levels, and you're trying to sort of, well, he's going to shoot me up, at 45 degrees that way. That one's shooting that one. I can't. I'm dead. Oh, okay. the pause. So yeah, that's the biggest sticking point for me with this game. Also, the pause between shooting seems odd as well. I mean, I know it, like I said, it's a secret sneaking type of game. Standing next to an enemy after they have shot, and I've shot, and you kind of just stood there waiting, because they shoot at the same rate as you do.
Yeah.
Just to shoot again. It's plain weird. It's just odd. So those are the elements that really sort of drop this down. I would have also liked seeing some variety in the sprite designs as well. You never change, no matter who you are controlling. Neither do the enemies through all 6 levels, missions, whatever. And considering you're principally doing the same thing for 5 levels, the backgrounds change, so they're well done and well drawn. The lack of variety in the visual design of the enemies and who you're up against and what you're doing just gets a little dull. There's no real big set pieces. You just wander around and so you find all the boxes and then you move on to the next level. And then at the end, and then in the RoboCop one or the Beirut one, you just run to the right until you've shot everyone, and then it's end. Could it? Would it? I mean, obviously it's a game made from a film, so bosses might not have been a thing, but enemy variety. Some things, some people doing different things. Firing, rocket launchers at you, or sniping you, or thingy, with what they call mortar guns. Like what we see in Green Beret.
Well, they managed it in Green Beret, so...
Yeah, that sort of thing is what you would like to see. Or people, some of them would just come running at you with knives or something, something. Still, that sort of thing. However, once I got into this, I actually didn't mind this. I don't think it's as good as they say. It's hard, but it's hard because of those control restrictions which have been placed on the player, make this more awkward than it needed to be. It's never going to be the all-out festival of shooting that Midnight Resistance was. It was never going to be that. But I think it needed to look at the controls for that game and made this more like that to enable the player to feel. I felt more, crouching, sneaking, firing in different directions. I felt way more able and enabled in Midnight Resistance than I do in this, and that's really weird considering I'm supposed to be playing this highly trained Navy SEAL.
Yep.
So enable the player to feel me. Like, I know that's what I wanted. The levels are interesting to navigate. They do get more complex as you progress, and I liked. And this is quite interesting. The non-linear way of approaching them is well implemented. It makes It makes good on the opening level of Batman and the Untouchables. I think this looked at them and went, actually, what if we just opened it up and let you go? Okay, that's cool. And the music, like I said, adds a solid level of atmosphere to proceeding. But the controls for me, they're not a deal breaker. They don't ruin it, but they do get in the way of being very good. So whilst I didn't hate this, I was disappointed. Because I was like, this is so close. I think it's a really, really good game here that just needed to give the player an easier ride with the controls. I was reminded of the first Metal Gear Solid game, which is a sneaking game. Obviously that comes on the PlayStation. It made me sort of double take when I thought Metal Gear Solid is only 7 years after this. The jump in that, what we get from one to the other, but in 7 years. But you were always struggling with the controls in Metal Gear. I always found anyway, the first Metal Gear Solid. You got through it because, of course, you would because it's Metal Gear Solid. But this reminded me of that. I think if they gave you a bit more, the controls were a bit looser and a bit more. This would have been a great, great game. As it is, it's just pretty good, and I did enjoy it. But I felt fighting it all the time. So probably the best game I've played. He did Slap Fight, didn't he? But probably the best Megan game, and a good. I think this is made good on Untouchables and Batman for me. I did quite enjoy this. What about you?
I didn't enjoy it really that much. Certainly not as much as you seem to have. One thing I'll say is this: the presentation is very good. I would expect nothing less for £20 of my hard-earned cash and a cartridge, but it is very good. Very nice intro. All the graphics around the game are good. Even in the game to an extent, you're not going to be upset by how it looks, and it sounds good too. The styling of the game is good, but that isn't the problem with it here, is it? The problem with this game, really, for me, was that it was firstly built upon the engine of other games that all had problems. And there's no escaping it. This is a variation of RoboCop, Batman, and Untouchables. They're using the same engine, without a doubt. Maybe there's tweaks, I get it, but this is that. And that all of those games all had problems of one type or another. Mm-hmm. Now, this has inherited some of those problems, and in other ways, it kind of bypasses them a little bit. So it looks good. I thought I played, the first level, okay, it appeared, and I instantly looked at it and thought, here we go, I'm going to be running around crates again, the Untouchables. I'm climbing up ropes again, Batman. I'm going to then end up walking and shooting people, RoboCop. And so I thought, okay, well, if that's where it is, and that is a game type, and this is their most successful variation of creating a game like that, fine, okay. We don't criticize modern games for using the Unreal Engine, and there's loads of games that use that, and in fact, eventually they even got a look. So, okay, I'm not criticizing it because of its choice of component engine parts. Problem here is that I struggle to control the character in a way that made sense to me. I needed to. So, daft things, climbing over crates shouldn't be an issue in a game. And if it is an issue, don't put giant crates in it, because the crates are as big as a man. Yeah. So, okay, these are big crates, and you get crates of all different shapes and sizes, and I get that you'd need to climb on top of them. But then make that better than sort of having to run and then jump and then push to an angle, and jumping at angles in this game seemed to really freak the game out. It seemed to upset the scrolling, which didn't quite know what to do with that. And not saying this is any bugs. These aren't bugs. This is just the way the game operates. But these are problems that were in Batman. So Batman had the kind of jump around kind of, for example, you can leap off a platform in this and just fly across the screen at an angle and die. Now, Batman had that problem, remember. You couldn't swing and hit the walls in Batman because he died. So it's inherited some of the stupid angular problems of Batman. Also, throwing things at an angle. I don't remember didn't think you could do that in Batman, could you? You could swing, but you couldn't throw your batarang at different angles.
I think so, yeah. Same. I don't know if you could fire it in angles at Untouchables either.
No, maybe you don't need to. But in this, you did need to do that because there are enemies on crates and they do shoot you at angles. Yeah. There's a couple of occasions where I appeared on a screen and got shot instantly, and I didn't really, because it was a surprise enemy. And you can navigate yourself back onto crates and just duck down, but you have to duck, dodge their bullets and shoot. Now, that isn't a difficult thing to do in this game, to do that. And that does make it a bit more sneaky and sneak around. But the controls are too stiff to be comfortably controlling something that requires you to sneak around in a game like this. So it feels jolty. When you jump, it's a bit of a jolt. Shooting's okay, and running left and right's okay, but it feels jolty when you jump up off the platforms, or you're climbing up the chains, or you're jumping onto the side. You seem to be able to do heroic leaps when it suits the game, and you can jump onto chains and things when it suits the game, but not every time. And sometimes you just miss, and if you miss, you go flying around, and it's a bit weird. So I found myself at certain times leaping off what I thought was going to be a sort of trying to leap over a small gap as I'm navigating the level, and finding myself flying miles across the screen. Thinking, how did that happen?
Yep.
You can shoot through walls in this game, which is a bit weird. So can the enemies, but that seems a bit stupid to be able to do that. In a stealth game, they shouldn't be able to see me, and in a game where I'm creeping into something, they shouldn't be able to detect me through a wall and shoot through it.
Yeah,
that's a problem in a game that's fundamentally about stealth. But this isn't about stealth. It just pretends to be, because that wasn't a component part of the Batman game, which theory this level is based on, or the Untouchables. So, like I said, it inherits problems from those games unnecessarily, because as you rightly say, in amongst all of this, with that great graphic work and the animations, there's probably the gem of a good little game in here. Now, the open world part, I don't know, because Batman was a bit of it was exploratory in a way. Untouchable wasn't, but Batman was, because you had to sort of navigate around the tower and all of that, didn't you? But not quite the same as this. This does feel a bit freer. You can sort of go up and then double back on yourself and scoot around. But that timer limit, that keeps it pretty restrictive about how far you can get. Yeah,
I forgot to mention the timer being really, it's at odds with the open world design.
It's at odds with a Navy SEALs mission, and at odds with the film, because they don't have 4 minutes in the film to do anything particularly. Even in most of these films, we all know they go, right, set the timers of the bombs. So beep, beep, 15 minutes on the magic watch, and all the little lights come on the detonators and everything. But they don't go, right, we've got 4 minutes to actually do the entire mission. They set the timer for when the explosives are going to go off. They don't time the mission from the beginning and go, right, you've got 4 minutes to get in. It's not, maybe they're tight for time, but there's no rationale that you're presented with for why you have a time limit of that kind.
No.
So it doesn't say you've got 4 minutes because the warehouse is going to explode or a whole army is going to arrive. You don't get that because there's nothing really given away. And that's on sort of my complaint about the instructions. Vagary in this game is stupid. You don't need it. It doesn't need a lot of instruction, but you need more than this gives. So I felt like this game, this is my final statement on it. I liked everything in this except the game. That's
a fair point. It does fight you, and I think you're right. That was my complaint. It's a bit of a pig to play, which is annoying because, like I said, they've almost got it there. So they've smoothed out those controls, given you time to explore those levels, and I think you're right. Sort of thing. Had them either give you the same abilities as the enemies, or take the abilities enemies away to see you down below. They could have had a really, really cracking game here. It's almost there. It's
almost there. I found the controls, I've noted here, I just looked at my notes, stiff and unfriendly. Not words I'd want to use about controls of anything.
No, it's not. Or anything.
No. Although on certain websites, that's probably a very, very good way of describing certain products. But nothing here. Nothing here.
Yeah, and it's a bad name for solicitors.
Although oddly accurate, But no, like I said, it's in there somewhere. There was a good game, but it got trapped into conforming to the Ocean template. And unfortunately, the Ocean template has always had problems. So there you go.
Yeah. There we go. Navy SEALs. Ooh. That's our first game of 1991. We've got one more before we go off and listen to some music. So let's move on to that. And Graham, it's over to you to tell us all about Snowstrike.
Snowstrike. Okay, well, this is Epic's, which surprised me because I thought they'd gone. But anyway, they're not. They're back in POG form. So this is designed by Incredible Technologies. Now, you might remember them from such wondrous games as Graveyardage and the Three Stooges. Creators here, Kyle Johnson, Larry Hodgson, R. Scott Morrison, Robert Fuentes Jr. They all did the creation of the game. Not really explain what role that is, nor did they do much of anything else other than the games I've mentioned. Musician here is Kyle Johnson as well. So what's it all about? Well, Snowstrike, the snow that they're referring to, isn't the fluffy white stuff that you throw at each other with snowballs. Not in this context, anyway.
No.
They're referring to cocaine, white gold, as they call it in certain areas of the land. I'm not going to say where.
Nose gravy.
Nose gravy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Devil's talc.
Roger Moore scrapings.
Ew, God, nobody'd want to bloody do
It's
that.
not this. What is it? It's scrapings of Bond.
Exactly. Bit of friendly powder. Yeah, bit of the old friendly powder. Some dust biscuits, whatever you want to call them. Anyway, it's cocaine. What we're talking about. It's cocaine. And now I want to mention something before we get into all of this. So this game is basically there's a big anti-drugs movement in the US at this moment in time. In fact, America had, quote unquote, declared a war on drugs.
Well, I seem to remember that winners don't do drugs.
Exactly, but America generally had declared a war on drugs. In fact, the government had literally said, we are going to war with the drug lords. That's
yeah,
what
they
said.
did.
They declared this war. And so this game is kind of is based around that. Okay, so this is, America did declare war on these things. Now, this game is fundamentally based in Colombia. Okay, so that you're attacking things in Colombia where the drugs were being grown and shipped and everything else. So, and the reason I mention it all like that is because there's a tonality to this game, which is the military striking at the enemy. The enemies are people doing dodgy drugs and dodgy stuff, and America, yeah, and all that. It's a lot of that, and that's okay. That's fine. My problem isn't with that because I'll talk about the game. My problem is the Zapped review, because the Zapped review of this. Now, firstly, they gave this a pounding. It got 27% in Zapped, got less on the Amiga. Secondly, their review is nasty, stereotypical nonsense aimed at the wrong people. Now, this game is Snowstrike, and the idea of the game is to bomb the cocaine manufacturers and drug plants and everything else in Colombia. In the Zapped review, they seem to think that this is okay to start pointing and striking at other countries. So they say, it says in their blurb, it says, unfortunately, the drug lords are based in other countries. So it's time to call in Ollie North for some more covert illegal operations in South America. And then it says, and maybe Saddam Hussein will pay for them rather than the Ayatollah last time round. Now, I don't like stuff like that. I don't like no. And like you said about the review for Navy SEALs, there's a peculiar jingoistic, saber-rattly sort of nonsense about that. This game has nothing to do with Saddam Hussein or the Ayatollah or anybody, anything to do with the Middle East or anything to do with any of that at all. It's not even mentioned in the instructions. It's quite clear this game is based in Colombia and it's aimed at drug lords of Colombia. There's nothing to do with any of that. So why they brought that into this review, I don't know. But they did the same thing with the Navy SEALs review, and I find it uncomfortable territory. I don't like it, and I'm calling it out for what it is. Stupid. Don't like it. So that's it. My lecture is over. Thank you very much. Make sure you do your homework for next week. No.
I'm just looking at that. I get what you're saying there. Are they saying in that bit of text going that they're going to go do that, but Saddam Hussein and the Ayatollah will pay the price for America's illegal operations? They'll come down on them. My
question is, why mention them at all?
Yeah, it seems an odd thing to put in.
Well, they pounded this game in their review, saying they didn't like it. They said they thought it was rubbish, so they'll focus on that then. Focus on why you're saying the game's rubbish. Don't focus on this trying to wrap the story and wrap other things into things that it's not relevant. Anyway, I couldn't find the actual game blurb for this. We've got what they call the technical manual. Of course, this is a simulation type game, so it comes with a combat manual. But I did find a sort of I want to say a blurb. It's the back of the box type blurb, which I suppose is better than nothing. And it says the first sentence, just so you're very clear, this is off the C64 box. airstrike on South American drug bases, just to make sure that you're fully aware of where this game takes place. Then it says, Washington, D.C., Pentagon sources today revealed that the elite 7th Air Wing will strike at South American drug operations. Fighter pilots will fly solo missions against the heavily defended fields, refineries, and seagoing transports of the drug kingpins. Mission overview. And it says, just as 10 different missions, strikes from carriers and airstrips, blah, blah, blah. Specially modified F-14s, blah, blah. That's all the blurb I could really find, because a key issue with this game is its lack of descriptions of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll come back to that in a minute. So ultimately, this is I want to say a flight simulation, but it's a flight combat simulator. Or at least it's an attempt at one. And it says that you've got to fly an F-14 LBC. Now, it says Rapier in the blurb I've got, but it's actually not that. I believe that it's actually the F-14 LCB Cosmos, which is in the manual. Which is an F-14, okay? And in the background blurb on the manual that I've got, it's Dateline 1997. In America, the new president has just been elected. His prime issue is to push Congress into declaring war on the South American drug lords. Dateline February 1988. Congress refuses to declare war on the South American drug lords. The president, as commander-in-chief, decides to send the troops in. The American secret weapon is the new state-of-the-art F-14 LCB Cosmos, nicknamed Rapier, specifically designed for this mission. I'm not so sure about these bits. I think there's a bit of fantasy coming in. Mm-hmm. The versatility and power of this aircraft could effectively destroy the major drug installations as well as transportation routes. And it says 1999, after the authorization of Operation Snowstrike, as initial squadron of F-14 LCB Cosmos jets arrive on the USS Epics. The pressure is now on and the stakes are high. Can you handle the pressure and complete the mission? There's only one way to find out. We wish you luck with your mission. Okay. Seems oddly brief and non-descriptive.
Yeah.
Now I've just explained that. That's the background. But did you learn anything about how to play this game? What it's about?
No.
Of course you didn't. So when you first start this game, you will see that quite a nice classic epic sounding music. It's all right, but it sounds like an epic score, doesn't it? They also have that kind of sound. And I thought a somewhat bitty image of an F-14. Now, it's clearly been some kind of coloured-in scan from the Amiga version. This was an Amiga release as well. And then you'll go to enter in some details. So you enter your pilot's name, and then you give yourself like a code name. So you can actually choose from a roster of pilots, so you can save your progress from other pilots, and then you can reload those if you want to continue as that person. Or you can look at the records for people. But I went straight to enter name, and of course I entered in Calibos, and so you give them, you put your name in, and then you choose like a call sign, so like Maverick and Stinger and all of those things, whatever they call themselves. Yeah. So he was just Eggman. I was just chose Eggman. So you choose, basically you put your name in, choose your call sign. Okay, did that. Then you get to choose whether and there's a lot of options here, a little bit option heavy, which made me nervous at this point, let me tell you. Mm-hmm. So then you choose land or sea-based missions, or carrier-based, land-based, I guess. So you can launch from a carrier, launch from land, obviously. Now, the carrier missions that you can choose from are sink enemy aircraft carrier, destroy drug transport ships, terminate enemy oil supply, or stop drug convoy ships. Or free flight. Mm-hmm. And the land-based missions are, again, free flight as option one, destroy drug laboratory, bomb cocaine refinery, demolish drug warehouse, and terminate drug transport. So those are your sort of missions of choice. You want to do them. After you've chosen whether you want to launch off a carrier and land in whichever mission, you'll get the skill factor, which is beginner, intermediate, advanced, and expert, which does factor a lot into this game. You then can choose the weather conditions, whether you want clear, partly cloudy, stormy, inclement, if you want. I didn't make that one. It's not really there. After that, you can then choose your co-pilot. Now, there's a range of co-pilots to choose from. You've got Jack Ashford, Harry Lodgson, James Johnson, Robert Clay, Sherman Dexter, and Donald Raines. And you can choose if you want to review them and look at their little stats and stuff like that. You get these kind of weird, quirky images of them. They're not particularly well drawn. I don't quite know where they would, in a game that's kind of built in a reality of sorts, why you wouldn't choose at this point to use scanned images of people, even if they're not that good, rather than kind of weird, quirky characters of people going, oh, and pulling kind of odd faces. But anyway, it does that. And then once you've chosen the co-pilot and decided on which one you're going to do, and they've got all sorts of sort of skills that they describe in there, beach person, night person, the usual. It's like a crap version of Tinder, really. And then you go on to, you'll be on either the deck of your carrier, the USS Epics, of course, or you're in the landing strip of the base. And then you can choose to sort of launch your aircraft, take off and start the mission. Now, at this point, remember, you don't know what the mission is. It's important to note that. I mean, you've got an idea from the basic description, but at this point, you're in the mission and you don't know what your mission is. You've got no idea. Now, the cockpit view of this, so the top half of the screen is the view out of the cockpit window. The bottom half is the cockpit itself. Now, I don't know anything about F-14s particularly, But I do know that probably isn't a very accurate rendition of an F-14. Maybe it is. I don't know. It didn't look like it to me. It looked a little bit cheap and nasty. It looked a bit naff. But so essentially, you've got a altimeter in there on the left, and obviously in various different things, they're going to show you the status of your aircraft. On the left-hand side, you've got like a telemetry on the right, so you can see which way your nose is pointing and whether you're high or low. But at the bottom, you can see whether your weapons are engaged or switched on. You can choose between machine guns, missiles, and chaff. So you can opt between those three. And the idea here is that, and there's a little bit of controls here, and this is then when it switches to the classic keyboard versus joystick control. You'll fly with the joystick, but you'll control most of the operations with the keyboard. Mm-hmm. So at this point, then you'll need to refer to the manual because you're not going to know what keys do what. Fairly straightforward in this, it has to be said. Space is your ground brake, and the keys 1 through 0, the number keys, are your thrust. So, obviously 0 being full thrust. Mm-hmm. So you would, at this point, obviously you press the 0, you'd start your jets, take your brakes off, and then you'll trundle along the runway. I say trundle, jerk, really. And then obviously when you get to speed, you'll pull back on the joystick, you'll take off, and then you reduce your thrust, and you can press G to bring up your landing gear, and then you're in the air. Now, at this point, obviously, you've got a tiny radar in the center of the screen. Now, radars are only good if you can understand what things are on them from a sort of basis, because this gives you kind of dots to look at. Okay, you can fly towards the dots. But remember, again, at this point, you still don't know what you have to do, what the mission is. So once you're in the air, like I said, you can fly around, you navigate with the joystick, you can maneuver around, and obviously then the view becomes very standard of this type of thing. So you've got kind of the blue. If you're on the sea, you've got blue at the bottom, sky at a different color at the top. So you get kind of the horizon line. If you're on the ground, you get a kind of ground green blue, the classic green blue. Of course, they decorate it with sporadic lines of stuff. No, who knows what they are? Just tracks, roads. It doesn't really matter because the flight controls are okay in the way you do it. What isn't okay is the jerkiness and the lack of detail. That really, it's another one of those boring simulators that doesn't look like anything. Mm-hmm. Now, okay, it is what it is in that respect. Not currently, the sound effect you're hearing is the noise. So, I'm flying. That's flying. It's C64 flying game. By the numbers at the moment, it's not doing anything radical. There's nothing very interesting. There's nothing really going on. Now, you will get attacked pretty much immediately if you've chosen those missions. And the idea of this game, believe it or not, is that you actually have to fly low to activate your ground radar to pick up the ground targets so that you can target them. All the while, you'll be being attacked by... Now, this is where it gets a bit weird. You're getting attacked by various different aircraft, and most of them MiG-29s and MiG aircraft. Now, these are all Russian military aircraft. Now, why the Colombian drug cartel would have access to highly secretive Russian aircraft, I don't know, and I'm pretty sure they don't, because if they did, I'm sure we'd have heard about it.
Probably.
And they would probably use them for sneaking the drugs into different countries. They're not going to necessarily use the various techniques they use now, which, by the way, are submarines, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. So not on land, obviously. I mean, that'd be obvious. So you got in that submarine. I don't
know. Roger Moss dust.
Roger Moss dust. Some dusty Lulu. Right, what you got? Anyway, so like I said, so at this point you'd be thinking, right, okay, well, I don't know really what I'm doing. I can see what's on this radar. There's a dot. You will see it periodically. Now, different to vector-based games, this isn't, I don't think, really a vector game. This is more like the Skyfox type tradition of sprite zooms, the sprite things. So the airplanes that waft in and out of the screen are sprites. When you press your function keys to activate the weapons, I think it's F1 for guns. It's F3 for missiles, and I can't remember, probably F6 for chaff, F5 maybe. But you press the function keys anyway, and that will activate your weapons, and you can then press the fire button to shoot them if you want to. And you can target things, and there's a whole raft of keyboard commands. I'm not going to go through all of them because there's loads of them. They do tailor how you play the game, but it's a flight sim, so I didn't have all the time to learn all the controls of the flight sim, but I was able to fly, maneuver around. I did take some pot shots at some aircraft. I did shoot them down. Your co-pilot talks to you all the time, so there's a little text messages appear on a little readout at the top of the screen. And well done. Why we just avoided that? Great.
Mine was never happy. Well,
it depends who you choose because they have different. They do. One of the good things about this is that some of the little personalizations, like the fact that the more subtle characters that you choose that have sort of are a bit more. When you look into their backgrounds, there's some that are kind of gung ho, and if you get the gung ho ones, then their messages to you will read like that. If you get the ones that are less like that, then the messages are a bit softer, which is okay. That's interesting. It does just make you feel like at least things have an effect. Anyway, So you'd be flying around, shooting at stuff, directionless at this point, really, because you've no idea where you're going. So you'll just be in the air shooting at things, and you will be under attack pretty much instantly. When you do get attacked, you get a siren or alarm, beep, 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 and then you get, you've got seconds to maneuver out the way or fire chaff or find the key to do that. The keyboard panic sets in pretty quick in this game. But if you press A, that brings up your control room. Now, I didn't find this in the instructions either. You noted in the little help document, you're like, press A to bring up your control room, because this doesn't appear to be anywhere in the instruction manual. And I agree with you.
Yeah, it's not, is it? It talks about the control room, not how to get there, though.
No. So anyway, which is a daft omission. I don't know if, but anyway, so you press A to bring up your control room. Now, I tried we had a CRT version of this, a cartridge version, or Easy Flash. I also tried the disc version because I wanted to test a couple of things, because Epic's games have this weird issue. Now, if it was the original Epic's Vorpal loader on disc, I imagine it might have loaded quite quick. Yeah. Now, I don't know if the disc version we've got is the Vorpal loader, because I imagine it's probably not, because that was really difficult to crack because of the way that they utilized specialized disc formatting on their discs. So that would be next to impossible to crack and release as a Vorpal loader. You wouldn't be able to do that. So they've obviously taken it off and put their own loader on. So when you press the A key, it does load in and it does take time, and it immediately breaks the flow of the game. Now, I tried the cartridge version. Obviously, it didn't have that problem. So when you do get your control room up, it does freeze the game in game time. So you then go to the control room, which is a bit silly, but okay, it's necessary because it could have flown 305,000 miles in the wrong direction, for all you know. Yeah. But the control room the idea of this is, firstly, on the top left of that, you've got like a weather map / radar view. And then you've got various buttons that you can press to get the different statuses up. And that will then have a readout on the right-hand side. You're kind of looking over the back of someone's head, which is an odd view, but you're looking at the back of someone's well-groomed hair, well-shaded hair. So then you can sort of choose the different, you're viewing the parameters of the game. What's my status of my aircraft? How much fuel? What am I doing? How many weapons have I got left? What's going on? What's the weather going to be like? Did I leave the iron on? All the things that are quite important for you to discover. The most important thing, in the instruction manual, it says this is where you can discover what your mission parameters are, what your mission is. I can tell you that you don't. Or at least I couldn't find it. What it was a screen going, in this mission, you must fly to the northeast, find the drug ship, bomb the drug ship. Oh, there was none of that. It was just kind of a vagaries. There's maybe something in the north. So it's a bit frustrating, because you're like, well, in a game like this, I need to have a determined mission to focus on. This vagary is frustrating because it just feels like then all you're really doing is just flying around. So the control room doesn't control anything, and you don't really get much of an idea. Even if you choose the radar view, it shows you things on a radar, but then you can't communicate that to your aircraft properly. So you've got to when you get back to your aircraft, you've got to kind of fly in a vague direction and hope that they appear on the radar on the screen in the middle. Otherwise, you're just flying around. There's no scenery or detail in anything. Yeah. So when you fly around, there's no landmarks that you can fly to. You're just flying around. So in the end, I ejected out of the aircraft because I thought that'd be funny to do. I was like, sod this for a game. So I just press shift and E to eject. And then you get this weird parachute view. Yeah. Because you can actually parachute and land safely. I didn't. I parachuted in the middle of the ocean and drowned.
Yeah, same here.
So, which prompted then, strangely enough, I had the sort of a funeral. Well, there was a funeral graphics. There was some giant cannons, brown cannons. Not sure what they're trying to say. And there I was, with the
Cher was at mine.
Cher could be on one of those big cannons, couldn't she? If I could turn back time. And then you get weirdly, the emotion of the funeral is then kind of cut short by the digital paper tape readout of your stats.
Which is dead.
But the problem there, AD, is let's talk about the Kuleshov effect, right? So you go from this nice shot of the funeral, all the sailors saluting, the music's dead emotional. Then it goes, the next thing you see is a readout. Is that what they read at the funeral? So they just read out your stats, This is Calibos Clawfist, despite I was at this point. He was rated second lieutenant. It's weird. It's just weird. It's weird that it just feels like they're reading out some ticker tape stats. Then it cuts to, now this is even weirder for me. Then I got a medal. I got the Purple Heart. I'm like, for what? I flew for about 20 minutes, shot 2 aircraft down, then ejected. I was like, sod this. Purple Heart medal. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have given me that for that.
Well, you did die for your country.
I did do that, yeah. So that's the game in a nutshell. That you've got lots of vague missions and no direction to take you where they are. Yeah. And occasionally you're going to get shot at by airplanes. I'd never found any of the things like the bases or the aircraft carriers that I was meant to be targeting. No idea where they were, nor are they indicated on a map, nor could I find them on my radar view. And if you do fly low at the ground to try and identify things, you will get shot down quickly, very quickly. So this for me, was a game that was well outside of its time to shine. Well outside of it.
Yes.
There are nice details and points, like I've said. There's some epicness in there. The selection screens are okay. The manual gives you the details of the game, but it lacks any of the specific things you need, which makes it really annoying. There's not enough description of anything here to give you something tangible to go for. That's a big problem in a game that's about that exact thing. Mm-hmm. Secondly, while the options, it's option heavy at the start, which is okay. The options do tie into things. And this game, by the way, is famous for having weather systems that actually do affect your flying ability. Not that you're going to know that in the C64 one, maybe the Amiga one had a bit more of that. But the problem here is that when you do get to the flight, it's boring. It's just more boring Wing Commander style green and blue simulations and stuff. And now, annoyingly, games that are of this type, like Skyfox and things like that, have done this before, years before, and way better than this. We've had loads of games, in fact, that have done this better. This is not enough simulation to be a simulator, so it's not competing with the your stealth fighters or anything like that. It's nowhere near in that kind of level of microprose detail. And it's not really Skyfoxy enough to have any combat and flight and action in it, because nothing really happens apart from the occasional, flurry with a sprite. So it lacks all of those two key things. So it's not flight and it's not sim. So what is it then? I found it really hard with this to know what I was meant to be doing and where I was meant to be going at any given moment. Flipping between the control and the flight thing was tedious and included nothing interesting. It didn't provide me anything. I couldn't set waypoints, for example, on the map view. Something which is fundamental to a game like this is to be able to go, right, you need to go here, 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 and here, transmit that to the aircraft. That comes up on like a view. And then I can, even if it did that automatically, so it just programmed the computer automatically and just started to fly in that direction so I could focus on the combat, and then it would always divert back to that sort of autopilot point. That would have been more preferable to just flying around aimlessly. The graphics outside of the main game, they're okay. They're not as polished as I've seen in many of the Epix titles, but they're okay for what they are. I remember the graphics for this, by the way, I think by the same guy that did Three Stooges. I don't know. There's a lot of brown in it. Brown cannons. Why aren't they grey?
Brown cannons.
Why are they brown? Why aren't they grey? It's a ship. They don't have wooden cannons on a ship. What kind of crap navy are we talking about here? So, I don't know. Like I said, outside of that, some of the epic-ness about it, they're okay. And the Amiga graphics are not much better, it has to be said, but they're slightly better, but they get criticised heavily in Zapped for that. The cockpit lacks the details of every other flight sim. They're not very detailed and not detailed enough, but they give you what you need, maybe, in terms of, some basics. I mean, I don't expect much on the C64 with these types of games anyway. So this isn't so much a vector problem as a kind of a game problem. It uses the sprite technique, but ultimately, this jerky, the frame rate's still naff, even with sprites, which I don't understand. I'm not asking for smooth. I'm just asking for not this. But frame rate in the update, I don't know. It's a somewhat featureless sci-fi looking game in a weird way, and it's all very boring. You need to work a lot harder with a game like this to make the missions more exciting prior to getting to the dreary white noise and jerky lines and horizons and sprite clouds. The missions need to be sold heavily. I didn't like the stealth fighter game at all, not my cup of tea, but the missions were sold very heavily on their detail. And so when you get that buy-in, you can sort of, if you're of the type of person that likes these kind of games, and that's no disrespect because there are many of the people that do, if you have that buy-in for them, then you're going to bypass that. You're going to suspend your disbelief enough to be able to enjoy the jerky, crappy vector experience all by yourself. Fine, go for it, fill your boots, that's great. But if you don't describe anything, then you've got no buy-in. And this game really needed it. So the dogfights, such as they are, you lack the controls to really do anything, but you'll find yourself jerking around until you manage to get it into your targets, and you will shoot them down, and you'll get a high five and a pat on the back from your co-pilot.
Purple
but what's
heart.
For? Purple. What's it for? If I shoot it down? What is it? It was a MiG-29. It's well out of its flight zone. What am I doing? What was it for? How many MiGs have I got to shoot down? What was the purpose of the drug cartel having them? How is that associated with the snow fight, whatever I'm doing? Where's the secret bases? Why are the missions in this like some kind of dark secret? Why aren't I in on them? I'm the pilot. So, as with all these kind of games, the wrapping greatly exceeds the value of the gift. And once again, the juice is simply not worth the squeeze. Underwhelming and boring, and about 3 years too late at the party, where this might have aligned with some of the similar games. I didn't hate it as much as the Zapped review because I thought theirs was a little bit of an OTT kick-in, but it's not great. What did you think?
Yeah, I'm not going to add too much to that. It's one of those, isn't it? And it's something I've written as pretty much the same as you. It's something a lot less simmy and not quite arcadey enough to please either faction.
Yep. Exactly right.
That's my problem. It sits in a no man's land in the middle and just flies around being lost.
The Venn diagram nobody wants.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
crap and indifferent. You're in the middle of crap and indifferent.
Yeah, it's easy enough to get going. I did like some of the easy presentation and speed at which you get into things. I like the little computer that you sort of type all your stuff in at the beginning. That's nice. It reminded me of almost like an Accolade type sort of presentational style. But after taking off on a mission to sink some drug boats, I thought I checked my radar screen. So I went back to the control room, checked my radar screen. I saw I was miles away. I just got a bit bored. You could choose to take off over land or sea and have clear skies all the way to stormy, but it just means a change of colour in the bottom, so you can have green or blue at the bottom.
Yeah.
Don't really do much else. And in the sky, you can have blue or grey. Pick your colour choice, basically. It's your choice. I mean, it's not as slow as some of those, some of the other games we've seen of this type, because obviously it's using sprites or whatever. Blowing up enemies, it's easy enough. It just lacks any real hook to it. Well, exactly what you said.
Yep.
And as you rightly said, as I've noted as well, it's just late to the party for one of these on the C64. The 16-bit machines are where the action is now for this. Everybody that likes these kind of games has buggered off to the Amiga or the ST.
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely.
So this just feels a bit redundant. I'd imagine those that want this kind of thing, and if you are still playing these on the C64, you're going to be playing Gunship or Project Stealth Fighter still, because you'll still be on mission 2 of that lot, because it's so slow, even 3 years later. So the myriad of other games that do this thing, like, I mean, Ace does this. I
was going to say Ace and Ace 2.
Ace does this better than this. Ace is the right middle ground for this. So there's a couple of others, but this is not anything. Yeah, the second one was, I think, wasn't it? The first one. I didn't mind this. Like you said, I didn't mind it. It's just boring. But I failed to see what market it was trying to serve. And also, just as a note on this, I wrote these comments while waiting to fly to my target and was not bothered by anything at all in the time it took me to write these.
Yeah.
I had it playing on one screen, and on my other, I was writing away. Is anything happening? I'll just write these.
I mean, I read one of the comments on Lemon, which said, one of the great thing about this game is you can fly into space. I thought, I'm pretty sure that wasn't the ambition of the game creators like that. So I thought I'd try it, and it took ages. I was like, oh, I'm bored of looking at that blue. I was just flying forever. The ceiling limit of this aircraft is not space either, by the way. So, if you can fly into space, the simulation has gone well off the chart wrong.
Absolutely.
But, no, I agree. Everything you say, I completely agree. 100% the same.
There we go. That's Navy SEALs and Snowstrike. We've had a bit of a sort of military first start to the year.
We have.
We're going to go take a quick break and sort of take the uniforms off. I think we've been sort of forced to wear.
We have.
We'll come back. We'll look at some music, see what was going on in the new year, see what 1991 was bringing us in the terms of singles and albums. See you in a moment. And we're back. We're back with the music for January 1991. What was going on in the UK singles albums charts? Well, we've got 4 number ones. It was a time of change, time of great change at the top of the charts. Well, not changing from the new year is Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter is still number 1 for the first week. Anything to say on this?
Well, yeah. I mean, one thing. I mean, stupid song, really. But I discovered something about this period of Iron Maiden, maybe all periods of Iron Maiden. And also, by the way, just to note, there was the recent sad passing of the original lead singer of Iron Maiden, Paul Di'Anno. So,
Paul Di'Anno,
rest in peace, Paul. Anyway, if you skip through the songs of Iron Maiden, like you play it, so you press play, then you can skip through the timeline.
Yeah.
If you do that on any Iron Maiden song, it sounds the same. It's a bloody miracle. It's some kind of clever musical optimization, but no matter how long or short you make it by skipping it, it sounds identical. You get the gist of that song. Because I did it was like, I even got some of the rhythm changes in by accident. I'm like, wow.
Well, do you remember we did it because we used what song did we use for our film we made all the way back in the day?
We used
Be Quick or Be Dead, didn't we?
Be Quick or Be Dead, yeah.
And I cut that because I hadn't cut that in an editing suite on VHS video.
You did?
Like from the beginning. We used the beginning and then we cut to the end. Did you notice?
Exactly.
No,
I mean, that's the gift, isn't it?
The song out.
Exactly. So I mean, so next time you got an Iron Maiden track, this is a good one to try on. Actually, bring up the YouTube video. It'll be in the show notes. And then you just press play and then just let it play for the first few seconds, then just skip to maybe 10, skip to maybe 30, skip to maybe a minute, and it will sound the bloody same. Clever, that.
Yeah. We should shorten their name to just In Me.
Yeah. Yeah, Imar. It's Irma.
Actually, In Me sounds quite bad.
No. No.
Replacing them, oh God, it went from Cliff Richard to Iron Maiden. This is the 3 number ones in a row to Sadness Part 1 by Enigma. More panpipes. The chanting and breakbeat reaches the top. Here we go.
Brown Sauce likes it, remember? He told us and proved it in tests.
He did like it.
Surprised the hell out of me because I feel sure he didn't. He's mellowed in his old age.
He has. His brown sauce has gotten a bit thicker.
Yeah, it's lost its fruit. Lost its fruit, isn't it?
Replacing Sadness Part 1 was Innuendo by Queen for 1 week.
It was, yeah.
Great song. Really good song.
It is a really good song.
I'm never a massive Queen fan, but I remember buying this on cassette single.
I remember you buying it, actually.
Yeah, I bought it. Cassette single. I really like this. Great. Some great, really good guitar in this. That middle section's so good, the flamenco bit. And it's actually what's his face from Yes. Steve thingy does the sort of thingy, but the solo at the end is great. The electric solo. Brian May's guitar work on this is exceptional.
It is.
And
it is.
Considering Freddie Mercury is at this point
ill,
9 months, 10 months away from dying. You know, he's obviously very clearly ill. His vocals are astonishing on this song.
They are really good. I think that's one of the reasons I like it so much because it's for me the last great Queen song.
Yeah,
where it feels like a real Queen song. One of the great things I like about Freddie Mercury and Queen is that kind of the way they embrace the theatre of rock and roll. That's what I love about them. And no, you see that in the movie and everything else. I'm not going to go into loads of details about all of that, but that's one of the great things about them. You know, they've got that operatic quality to them, and this is no exception to that. It's just brilliant. It's one of my favourite Queen songs, actually, out of all of them. Yeah. I mean, everyone loves the same Queen songs. You know, everyone knows them. It's like in Britain, I think if you went to anyone and went doom 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 doom, they'd be doing "We Will Rock You" in about 3 seconds, or they do. It's just part of our fabric of our society. However, Innuendo is a truly brilliant track and very difficult to find a live version performance by Queen. I could not find one, but it did lead me to the Robert Plant one. So
it only came out 10 months before he died. I don't think he did any live shows, did he, after that?
No, but I mean, you'd think that they'd even like live performances later where you've got some of the other singers, some of the Queen singers. You just can't find it because, as well as obviously there's tribute acts and everything else. And I get it that maybe I don't think he did do any live performances, did he? But which is perhaps the great tragedy of it, really. So you can't find any live performances. There are some Queen tribute ones, but there is the Robert Plant one from the Freddie Mercury tribute. Now, if anyone's voice suits Innuendo other than Freddie Mercury, it's Robert Plant's. I'd advise going and having a listen to that because it's pretty good. But the tragedy is we'll never be able to hear a live version by Queen, at least not that I could find.
No. Great song, though. Great song.
Brilliant.
Replacing that for the last week of the month is 3am Eternal, which is the KLF featuring the Children of the Revolution.
Of course it is. Yeah.
Good song.
This is it is good. It's from the 1991 album, The White Room. There's loads of mixes and remixes in the usual KLF manner of this. The Live at the SSL version is available now on the Solid State Logic 1 album, which they released relatively recently. As I think of an answer to people continually badgering them to release the parts of the back catalogue, which prior to that I'd heard ruminations that they'd burn them all or something, but who knows, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I think they released a book at the same time as the release of Solid State Logic as well, and probably 1,000 trout into Richard Branson's swimming pool or something weird. We're known for doing that. Now, a year after this was released, the KLF famously were on the Brit Awards, the 1992 Brit Awards ceremony. Nobody is ever going to forget that. They caused massive controversy because firstly, they did a version of the 3am Eternal with Extreme Noise Terror, which were a crusty punk band by definition anyway, according to the wiki. I'm not a fan of Extreme Noise Terror as a band anyway, but they did this horrible punk version of 3am. It was barely recognisable. During that performance, KLF co-founder Bill Drummond decided to fire a machine gun filled with blanks over the music audience of the music industry, with the music industry luminaries and stuff like that. Now, this is on TV. This was live on TV, or at least broadcast on TV. So I'll put the video of that into the show notes because partly it's craziness. It's the craziness of the early 90s and this sort of, I don't know how you describe it. There was this really complicated arrangement of stuff coming out of Britain, and KLF is an example of this kind of chaotic arts meets house music meets acid house. There's a mass rebellion of sound coming out, and they're a good example of that. But the image of Bill Drummond standing on the stage with a machine gun is very, very uncomfortable to look at with a modern lens. It's not like it's a fake gun. That's a real gun he's firing blanks at. And through a modern lens, with all the horror that we've been through with this kind of thing, when you see that, and just a warning for content, if you are sensitive to stuff like that, don't go and watch that because it is pretty horrific to watch. But it is grand guignol theatre of the worst live kind of the early 90s. What a mad period of time that was to have that on TV and it caused controversy. I mean, goodness me, imagine what would happen if that happened now. Chances are Bill Drummond would have been shot dead.
Yeah, probably.
So crazy. But anyway, I just thought I'd mention all that. It is a great track, but I don't know the K-Left from a band that you can come to sort of terms with, but I don't think that you could ever describe them as, luminaries of any description, really.
No. In the albums, for the first 2 weeks, it's the Immaculate Collection still by Madonna, still hanging about, still,
bloody Madonna, voguing, laying around in other people's beds. Get a proper job, you bloody lay about.
She is.
Stop voguing.
I imagine she's just hoovering up all that Christmas money from what people go, oh, I got £20 from Auntie Margaret. I'll go get that Vogue.
I don't know the way she's rolling on the video. I think she's hoovering up some of bloody devil dust, some of the old...
some of Roger Moore flakes.
Yeah, exactly. Got some crunched up argue barmies on the go.
Hey, Mum, there's something wrong with these cornflakes.
Exactly.
That's because they're Roger Moore flakes.
Some dusty Lulu going on there.
Replacing Madonna after 2 weeks was 1990 AD. I'm not going to say the Roman numerals. See, nothing says classy like Roman numerals.
Exactly.
It's Enigma was at number one for a week.
Yeah.
And then the last week of the month, it was the Soul Cages by Sting.
Boring.
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 We'll come to the single in a bit. Let's get into the singles. 6th of January, in at number 15, International Bright Young Thing by Jesus Jones.
You're a big Jesus Jones fan?
I'm not a massive Jesus Jones fan. I listened to their albums back then, and they were okay. They never quite hooked me. The singles, I always thought the singles were good. International Bright Young Thing, Real, all that kind of stuff. So I did like the singles, but the albums were a bit not as good. They're all right, Okay.
They set the stage, though, don't they, at this point, for the heavy break sound, which is going to feature a lot in this particular episode, because I don't know what happened to EQing in the early 90s, but somebody just decided to up the low frequencies on everything. So everything has thunderous drums. And I don't hate this. I was never that into this particular sound, but the bigger crime on that video is the chroma key. I was like, oh, no.
It is a bit off the chart again, isn't it?
Yeah.
In at number 18 is X, Y, and Z by Pop Will Eat Itself. Didn't like this. Reminded me of early Shaman, which is not Pop Will Eat Itself that I like.
No, completely agree. I thought it was bloody rubbish.
Yeah.
Don't eat chicken on a Friday night, kind of crappy nonsense. Chanting over another heavy breakbeat. No, not for me. This
not for me.
I remembered them differently, like you. Maybe you're more knowledgeable about Pop Will Eat Yourself than I am.
I think it's they become heavier later on.
The EQ cannot get much heavier than it is now. Things are going to start shattering.
Hang on, because in number 24 is Old True Man by Alexander O'Neill. Yeah, so it's exactly what I expect, but smoother with massive drums.
I know, they are heavy. I mean, the snare sound knocked my neighbour's shed down when I played it, and I didn't even have the volume up.
So what the woman playing the drums in the video, she's just like tap, tap. But the sound that she's creating, that's not, no, massive.
A couple of things to note, and we're going to see this again later. Firstly, the drums she's playing are not the drums on the track, obviously, but they're definitely not. That's a Lynn drum. But with the EQing off the frigging chart. So it's like, I don't know, I can't quite hear the bass in that. I think we should put it so high that people poo themselves. Fair enough. I don't think it's a good idea, Alex, but all right. So no, it's just too heavy on the bass and that. And it upsets the smoothness. It's hard to be smooth and bassy. It just doesn't work for me. It's just like crunchy peanut butter of a song, isn't it?
Yeah, I like crunchy peanut butter.
I like it, but, there's a time and a place for it, but not here.
Absolutely. Not in a Lindrum.
No.
No one wants peanut butter in a Lindrum. That's just asking for trouble. In at number 26 is All This Time by Sting.
You like this period of Sting? You're a Sting fan.
No. I said I liked the first album, which was Dream of Blue Turtles. Everything after that, I had no time for, especially this. This is jaunty, isn't it? It's jaunty, but weirdly, he's channeling Paul Simon in the vocal style.
He absolutely is,
because he's doing that. Doing that Paul Simon.
It is. You totally get it. Yes. Yeah.
You listen to this, I was like, wow, that's Paul Simon, and then it goes into Sting for the choruses. But
he couldn't call himself Sting Simon because it sounds like a command.
Paul Sting.
But my thought with this was, if you take all the edge of the Police away as a band, and I really like the Police as a band, all you get, if you take it away, you're left with this, which is what all the other band members in the Police hated. Which is why Sting went and did it on his own, because they all said, we hate that stuff you do. It's crap. All right, I'll reset on my own then. Right, go and do it then, Bernard or Sting, whatever your name is. And so he did. It's so safe, though, isn't it? MOR Golf. It's so safe it can help blind people across the street. So safe. It's ultimately safe.
Absolutely. It's a song you could bring home to meet your mother.
She'd love it as well. She would. And she'd invite me around for Christmas.
Yeah, she would. Yeah, and buy him a jumper. In at number 36 is Box Set Go by High. You put here. I couldn't find. I tried 3 or 4 different videos of this. They all sounded like this. So the mix of this, whatever it is just dreadful. It sounds like it was recorded in a toilet or a shoebox.
It probably was. I mean, it sounds to me like it sounded like. Personally, I thought it was maybe bad encoding because that does happen. It's lossy encoding on YouTube and stuff like that. But I suspect that there's wider problems, and I think you're right. It probably is recorded badly. I had a feeling it was recorded on a bit of a pretty low quality 8-track.
Yeah, quite possibly.
And then this is it sounded like a demo tape more than an actual full production. What it wasn't was the 32-track studio involved. Or maybe there was involved and they just recorded this in the car park. In a car.
With the microphone hanging out the window.
With the condenser mic on a tape recorder.
Like
ultimate lo-fi.
Like we used to do with my Mystic Rhythm tape recorder.
Exactly. But nowadays people do that to get that sound. So, but not this though. Not this.
No, and it's a rubbish song as well. It's boring. Boring tweet twaddle.
It was boring, yeah. It was.
In at number 40 is A Little Ain't Enough by David Lee Roth. Oh, this song, this video. Video. Oh, cliche bingo alert. Dave Roth cliche bingo alert. I filled my card in 5 seconds.
Danger, yeah, absolutely. Didn't take long, did it?
It's like he jumps off, he goes, whoa, he jumps off, does the splits, slows down, goes, oh, does a woman walks past sort of thing. He does a spin. Like, hey, bingo, house.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then at one point, he's wearing stripy trousers with what looks like a denim codpiece.
Yes, one sees such clothes and one says, that's David Lee Roth.
What's going on? And then in the chorus, he's in a gym or he's in a room with a load of women that are doing this sort of chest expander exercise. They're doing
the pec deck,
pec deck. They're doing that. It just keeps cutting to a different woman doing it every time. Clearly, obviously in a bikini. Yeah. It's just like, it's just going, oh, and it's like, she's just a cavalcade of women, just awful. There's no place for it. It's just, I was like, oh, God's sake, this is so bad. Bad.
The last vestiges of hair metal dying here, and what a horrible death it's having. Now, the thing I noted here with this was, firstly, this is David Lee Roth, the brand, and it's clearly nobody wanted this brand anymore. The previous album for this was an absolute disaster. It was a big flop. And this ain't looking like it's going to do much better, is it? That rubbish. No, it's not good. And also, is the clothing he's wearing. He's gone from David Lee Roth to David Touch Cloth, I thought. It's quite unpleasant on the eye most points in time. Like, don't do that. The only good thing on this is Jason Becker on guitar, because the guitaring is very good. You'd think it was Steve Vai in the background, but it's not. It's actually Jason Becker, who was quite young at this time. But this is all the worst excesses of David Lee Roth's personality entwined into one video. And it's probably why Eddie Van Halen hated him at that time.
Yeah.
And you could sort of see why. Can you imagine that smug guy coming, Now, just as a sad footnote, Jason Becker, who was the guitarist here, he actually recorded this album, and that was the last thing he recorded, at least for guitar, because his career was cut short by, it says here, it's amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS. It's actually called Lou Gehrig's disease.
Lou Gehrig's disease, yeah.
Where he lost the ability to use his hands and eventually his entire body. So now he can only communicate with his eyes via a system developed by his father. And believe it or not, he's still making music, albeit by whatever means that is. He recorded an album in 2008, but what a tragic loss. I mean, the guy was clearly gifted with a guitar. But
the guitar. it's good guitaring, sort of thing. Dreadful music, but it's good guitar. I'm not.
And again, but this is another where the singer shits on the good musicians. We see it a few times in this episode, and this is clearly another one.
Just an aside, that David Touch Cloth has reminded me of my favourite ever pub quiz name I've ever heard, which I always laughed. I always liked sort of thing. It was someone called their team was I've Touched Cloth Medea. And it's the Medea at the end, which made me think it's some kind of Victorian apology. I just laughed. I always think of that when everyone says touch cloth. I was like, oh, that was a good name. I wish I'd thought of that. Anyway, in at number 42 is Sensitivity by Ralph Trevant, I guess.
Trevant, yeah.
He seems angry, not very sensitive.
I agree.
And there's loads of material in this video being blown by wind, and the song is rubbish.
It is. My first thought when I saw this was, is this an outtake from Favour of Black Hat?
It is a bit like that.
What a crap song. It's a pity. Like I said, some good musicians got together to then watch an idiot have a shit on their music. So,
yeah, it's
not good.
dreadful. Alita Adams is at number 51 with Get Here. Get Here If You Can. It's a cover of Brenda Russell's 1988 original. Good version. It's all right.
Yeah, Alita Adams is a great vocalist. Odd phrasing in this, though. She got a bit nasally in this one. Maybe she had a cold.
Yeah, maybe. I couldn't name you another Alita Adams song if you asked me.
Yeah, same, but you probably heard her voice on loads of things and gone, and when you find it, like, oh, that's Alita Adams. So
yeah, maybe. Number 71 is Twice as Hard by the Black Crows. Scabrous Rock.
Yeah, no argument there.
And weirdly, in the intro to this, the lead singer keeps trying to surprise you while he's in camera with jump scares for some reason.
Yeah, he does do that.
Ooh, ooh. I'm like, stop it. Just what you're doing.
He's doing all right for a living scarecrow, though, isn't he?
Absolutely. He's carrying the Steve Tyler mantle.
It's just a bit. He is made of less scarf, more bloody bones and twigs, I think.
Absolutely. The Crow Man would be well pleased with him.
He is. He is a scarecrow that's just come to life. There's a vibe about the Black Crows, though, that I kind of dig. I don't know why. They're not a band I'd ever really been to, but they've got something. Don't know. It's just a bit of rock and roll simplicity, I suppose. But I quite like that about them. I don't necessarily like them. But some of their songs have just got a little bit of catchy sort of rock and roll-y stuff, which kind of, I dig it in some ways.
All right. Do you also dig at number 77, Don't Believe Her by the Scorpions?
No, I do not. No. I do not like the Scorpions. I do not like the way they sing. I do not like their pointy sting. I do not like a single thing.
Very good. Very good. I like that couple of live cliched nonsense video for a song way out of time.
Oh, the video.
Exactly what you expect and nothing more.
Video should. What there wasn't in the video was enough boobs and poop. So
no. 13th of January, in at number 5 was 3AM Eternal. We've spoken about that already. Number 27 is Can I Kick It by a Tribe Called Quest. Yes, you can.
Kick it. Yes, you can. Yeah, good stuff, actually. I quite like that.
Brown Sauce is going to love this.
Oh, he's all over it. Which sounds gross when I say it like that, but he really likes it.
He does like to kick it.
Yeah, he does like to kick it a lot. But yes, he does.
Number 31 is Forget Me Nots by Tongue and Cheek. It's cover of the 1982 song by Patrice Rushen.
Yep.
But you may also recognize this as We Are the Men in Black, Galaxy Defenders.
Yeah, I remember it from that.
So, and actually, that's kind of, when I hear this tune, that's what I hear. I don't hear Forget Me Nots. I just can't.
Yeah, it seems to have been a bit of a sort of a thing that's in a few songs. It's also in the George Michael song Fast Love, where there's a little bit of a hint to that as well. So maybe it's just I don't quite know why that thing would be.
It's a nice tune.
Like it. It's catchy.
It's a nice little hook.
Nice refrain.
It is nice.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm not. Forget Me Not. Unfortunately, I forget it. I did. So.
yeah. Number 35 is Satan by Orbital.
Good track, that is.
Very good track. Yes.
I did listen to this quite a bit with old Brown Sauce back in the day. We discussed it many times. I always felt it owed a lot to Front 242, which, we'll come up with them later. But there's hints of it in there because it's just got that sound of theirs. But it is very good. Very good. Very good dance track.
Yeah. And at number 46 is The Mysteries of Love by LA Mix.
Brown Sauce would probably be able to give us a potted history of LA Mix because I suspect there's more to it than what we know. But it's got early garage vibes, but I'm not massively into this. And the Heavy Breaks are back, aren't they, again? So.
Heavy Breaks. A band that should have been heavily broke is number 48, The Girl I Used to Know by Brother Beyond.
Oh, why are they back?
I don't know. Low Poly Nightmare. This just sounds dreadfully like let's make ourselves sound like New Kids on the Block.
Exactly. Even the song title sounds like a New Kids on the Block song.
Yeah. And his dancing is aimless.
It's really stupid.
It's aimless dancing.
It is pointless dancing. It's low poly dancing, so it can only go in certain directions.
It is. It's one of those you can get this dancing off Mixamo and just it's just something you'd insert into a game when you can't be bothered to animate something in the background. It's just pointless dancing.
Just go to the Brother Beyond section. You'll find all the simple animations you need. I thought they'd gone, actually. They seem to have come back, like you said, with a new mission. But it's more stupid, and the drum sound he's playing from the drum kit, again, does not come from a drum kit. It comes from a drum machine, and not the one they're pretending to play. So why do that? No, I do that.
No. In at number 50 is Saturday Night by Blue Nile. Meaningful.
Yeah. Weepy, yeah. Well, weepy that one. I was crying for a month.
I was, yeah. I'm still crying now.
I cried horrid tears.
And I cried for you.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
Don't call me Tina.
All right, John. Who's he?
Who's he? It's Latin for Mr. Tina. In at number 58 is Miles Away by Winger. Did you not think that intro sounded like Manhattan Skyline?
Oh, completely, yeah. It's blatant.
I was like, that sounds very familiar.
Yeah, very familiar.
But ballad in the key of black and white. Lots of hair and looking up.
There seems to be loads of them.
Yeah, we're going to get another one in a minute. This is very late to the party.
Lots of hair and looking up. They don't want that on their resume. That's the worst review of their album ever. All that effort they went in, and that's what they get. It's just lots of hair and looking up. That's all you are, Winger.
That's what they do, though, in the video.
It's so completely. Yeah, it's the best. If you were going to summarise a band, that's it. You just cut them down to their nub. That's the nub description of that rubbish. It's hard to be sympathetic with him and his caterwauling when his hair's in better condition than the woman who's clearly in trouble. Cliched arse.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, on the flip side, in at number 85, weird that Winger are at 58 and these are 85. They're always flipped. Is High Enough by Damn Yankees.
Oh, dear.
I love this song. I've loved it for ages.
Why doesn't it surprise me?
It's great chorus, this. The way that chorus comes in is really good, and the sort of use of the violins and stuff for the thing. It's a much better song, this. I get it, because this and the previous video are interchangeable. There's lots of black and white stuff going on. But, this also has the benefit of having a singer with a fringe that, you could cut cheese on. So this is to me a much better song. I do like this High Enough by Damn Yankees. I shouldn't, but I do. There you go.
I didn't like it. In fact, I hated it. And all it made me think of was that Peace of Satira would be sending them death threats after listening to that, because they're kind of treading firmly in his, they're treading in his patch. They're working his corner there.
The wire of ballads. String a bell. Why do we call it that? Because he plays mean cowbell. Just the corners. Hey, you got any Peter Cetera? No, but I got some Winger. What's this shit?
How much for the Winger?
Oh man, that gives the wire a whole different feel. McNulty, hey, we're dealing this shit. What's going on? We're dealing this substandard rat.
What are you finding there? Music. Loads of music.
Look at this. It's rubbish. Dangerous toys.
He gets the CD out, just dabs it with his finger and he licks it. It's like, yeah, it's pure satira.
Absolutely. This is knockoff. It's been diluted.
Yeah,
it's been diluted with a bit of damn Yankee.
Careful. Satira is all-powerful and all-knowing.
Oh, dear. That's made me laugh. 20th of January, in at number 1, straight in, was Innuendo by Queen.
Ooh, ha, ha. Very good.
Yeah. At number 6 is Wiggle It by Two in a Room. I have no space in my life for this.
It's crap. No, I agree.
You might.
No. The Fairlight Akai sampler is in full effect and it shouldn't be. No,
it shouldn't. Rubbish.
Take it off them and walk away.
Yeah. In at number 11 is Do the Bartman by The Simpsons.
Aye.
There's not much to say about this. Is there? Everyone thought the Bart was the best thing at this point, didn't they? It was the subterfuge of The Simpsons.
It had gone kind of international at this point, hadn't it?
Yes.
And because it was on Sky now at this point, and I think the mistake that you say was that people thought Bart was the thing, but everyone knows it was Homer and all the other characters. And Bart, actually, they did change, and it became less about Bart, really.
Yeah, very much.
I don't know. I remember reading somewhere that Michael Jackson had something to do with this song. Maybe he did. I don't know.
I think he did because he was involved in quite a few early bits when he Happy Birthday, Lisa, and all that sort of stuff.
I think he sings on the backing track on it.
Yeah, I think he does. In at number 14 is Cry for Help by Rick Astley.
Isn't it just?
Yeah, I was like that. His hair, when this video starts, he's backlit to such an extent that if you've ever seen the meme about Nicolas Cage's hair being a bird, which just go search for Nicolas Cage hair being a bird, you'll find it. And look at this, to start this video. I was like, oh my God, his hair is a bird.
It really is. I mean, I was struck when I saw it. I was struck thinking, that hair's just grown into its own thing. It's like it's Rick Astley's face, but it's like he's been superimposed on someone's body. And then I thought, is he building an ark? Because he looks like that guy in that movie where he has to build an ark and his hair just keeps growing. I don't know, boring song though, right?
Yeah, really bland MOR.
Yeah, noise cancellation for interesting music. If you play that when you got intro, it just cancels it out.
Absolutely, silence is all around you.
It cancels itself. Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Rick Ghastly. Ghastly at this point.
Well, I can't help but think that Cry for Help was, please get me out of Stockaker and Waterman.
Get me out this hair.
Yeah, someone find me a barber's.
That's got to be a wig.
Get them in a barber stat.
It's got to be a wig. It looks like a wig. It is a wig.
I don't know. 28. Number 28 is Coming Out of the Dark by Gloria Estefan.
Meaningful
gospel ballad. There's probably a message in there somewhere that but I couldn't bother to find.
I just thought when I saw it, I thought, wow, her hair's got a face. So, that's what I thought.
Number 33 is Outstanding. It certainly isn't by Kenny Thomas. So this video is weird. A man menaces fruit and vegetable holders with a bongo, and then another man dances and waves at them. I felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Then he started singing in a voice I wasn't expecting. It was awful.
I mean, if you look up the definition of pretentious arsehole in the dictionary, it says the sort of person that plays a large djembe at a Sunday market.
Is that what it was?
Right.
I thought it was a bongo.
No, bongo is like two drums, bongos. There's two little drums, hand drums, but a djembe is what he's holding.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah. Well, that makes him even more right.
Who struts down to a market doing that? you got to the guy shouting about his strawberries. He doesn't need to compete with the rhythmic percussion of a large djembe, does he? He's like, oi, I'm working this corner. Get out.
This corner. Stringer Bell's going to have my things without making enough money from these strawberries. You're down here banging your djembe.
Exactly, strawberries. £2 a pop. Oh, he's doing me head in. Get away. Put an hole in his drum or something.
Stop that man dancing.
This is not the place for your rhythmic exploration. Get away, Kenny.
Which one was Kenny as well? Was it the djembe
They're
or
all
the singer?
Kenny, all of them.
it's actually one's Kenny, one's Thomas.
Exactly. But they went to the Kenny market on Kenny Day.
Kenny Thomas.
Yeah, you Kennys. Yeah, you Kennys.
Powder put it.
Powder Kenny. How many Kennys you want, mate? Oh, they all play the drum because I don't know if I do want them.
No, this one's playing the djembe.
The top of the range model can play a few different drums. Your lower models, they're all single drummers, all single drum.
Absolutely.
And they probably will escape and periodically, you'll find them at the market. They always go there. They only
play one bongo out the pair. It just gives you one noise.
Who plays a single bongo? Kenny!
We called him Kenny Single Bongo.
Yeah, you Kennys.
Kenny One Bongo. Number 35 is Dedication by Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
It's a good song, this. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's fine.
There's nothing bad about it. Yeah, exactly. And they're just a hit and miss band for me. Doesn't mean that their songs are rubbish. It just means that I like some of them more than others.
Yeah. Number 36 is Summer's Magic by Mark Summers.
Oh, yes.
You've got to be on something to get anything from this, I thought.
Yeah.
You need to have imbibed some kind of illegal substance.
I think, I only really came across this because I'd heard it and then I've already heard it again. And then it's on the very opening credits of the film The World's End. And it's used in almost every Edgar Wright movie because he's very big on this kind of sort of odd music from God knows where.
Okay, right.
So, but other than that.
Number 45 is Someday by Mariah Carey.
She hits some bloody high notes in that, doesn't she?
It's everything you expect in a Mariah Carey song. You know.
True. Songs in the key of dog whistle. And I mean that in the sound, not the modern way of doing dog whistling. Very good. No. It's very good if you like it, but I don't.
Number 48 is Bloodsport for All by Carter the Unstoppable Sex Machine.
That's you, that is.
It is. I'm not going to. I said my Carter piece in the previous one when we covered them, but this is more catchy indie rock from I think one of the best bands of the time. Great lyrics, cracking tune. I really like this.
Not my thing, but I know it's yours. That's all good.
Number 59 is Breathe by Maria McKee. She didn't know the song.
Yeah, apparently. Great vocals. Instantly forgettable. I've already forgotten what it sounded like.
No, I couldn't remember it, even during listening to it.
It's beautiful plumage. Beautiful plumage.
Absolutely. Number 73 is The King is Half Undressed by Jellyfish. American Indie. I'd never heard of them.
No. I only heard of them because they played a gig in Grimsby. Back in the early 2012, around that time, 2012, 2011.
Fair enough.
So, but they played at the Matrix Club in Grimsby back then. And I only know that because I knew someone who was working there at the time and they said, oh, Jellyfish are playing. I'm like, I've never heard of them. And yeah, they're a big American indie band. I was like, all right. So that was that conversation, really. Nothing more to say.
That's the most interesting thing I've ever heard.
It's the most interesting thing I've ever heard in my life.
Please tell me more about this conversation from 12 years ago.
And then he said...
27th of January. I Believe by EMF. What is it with this word and this band and the word believe?
God, yeah, unbelievable. I believe. Maybe they're trying to answer their own song.
Yeah. You. What's the sort of the medicine you can get to stop you believe or whatever?
That's I Believe.
I Believe. Yeah, it's a very different song.
That's probably the same song by them. Actually, this is a song about drug infused. What is it? Diuretic. Yeah. Oh, I've never used I Believe, I don't think. What is it for?
I don't know, actually.
I need to look it up. Anyway, either way, crappy song.
It is a crappy song. It is rubbish. Number 11, What Do I Have to Do? By Kylie Minogue. She's morphing, isn't she, into Sexy Kylie for the late 90s through this period. You know, what we'll see in the la, 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 la period.
Absolutely, yeah.
This song was, it's all right. It's a bit forgettable, though. But,
She sang?
She did. She did.
I was looking at the video thinking, wow, okay, more black and white.
It is.
Filtery, though. Very filtery, very heavy on filter.
Yeah. Number 17, Play That Funky Music by Vanilla Ice.
No.
So bad. On every level. This is so bad.
It's really bad.
I felt I need therapy after this song.
Yeah, absolutely. YouTube made me watch adverts before that came on. And all I could think of when it started was drown in a corn silo now. And I haven't changed my view on that.
It's really awful.
So shit.
Number 19 is Only You by Praise. Panpipes and lots of vowels.
Cutting it to the chase again, I see. Enigma, you've got a lot to answer for, I thought. I would be interested in Brown Sauce's opinion about that. Well, maybe not his opinion, but what his thoughts and, what he knows about that, because he'd know about that.
He probably would. Number 32 is You Got the Love by The Source. So this is one of those tunes, isn't it, that but it seems to have been around forever, and I thought it was a lot older, but I don't know, or newer. I couldn't tell you this.
Yeah, it's ubiquitous with dance music, isn't it?
Ironically, I couldn't tell you the source of the source.
No, ironically.
But You Got the Love by The Source. It's like, what is this? But You Got the Love to see me through. It's just, I always thought this was Massive Attack or something like that.
It has that. They did songs like it. It's got that vibe, hasn't it? But it just seems to have been around forever. Very heavily sampled and considered a classic. There's loads of versions that use bits, all of it, some of it. That vocal is very famous.
Yeah.
As soon as you hear it, you're like, there's no mistaking it. It's very classic.
Yeah, because when I just put it on and I chucked it into YouTube to try and find the song and I had to listen to it and I was like, oh, this can't be that. It's because it's that.
Exactly. It's hard to connect the dots sometimes, isn't it? Because when something's like this, where it's been used, sampled, iterated, recorded over, mixed and remixed, it's hard to know where, it's the blurring of the source, really.
Yeah.
So I don't know which one it is. It's good, if you like that kind of thing.
Yeah, it is. Number 33 is Boneyard by Little Angels.
No.
I put the opening to that video would annoy you.
It did.
It's more scabrous rock.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like all those other crappy songs. Corn Silo.
Number 36 is The Night Fever Mega Mix by the Mixmasters.
This.
I can presume this was coming in on the back of the success of the Grease Mega Mix, which worked.
I think it was, yeah.
This didn't work.
No, it doesn't. It's not good, is it?
No.
You can't house up a disco track like that because they're already quite funky and disco-y. What's the point if you're going to do that? The Dead Bee Gees, which, by the way, is a good name for a tribute band, let's be honest, wouldn't be happy with that, especially as it's not even them singing on it, which is
it not?
No, it's not. It's a slap. That's how much of a slap across the face it is to the Bee Gees. They didn't even use their vocals, and it's their song. They must have allowed it, I guess, because they have the right, must have the rights to it, I thought.
Yeah, they'll just be happy to get more money.
Yeah, true enough. Well, yeah.
And at number 44 is Everybody Needs Somebody by Birdland.
Yeah, I didn't like it. Not my thing at all.
Yeah, it's a punky. It's all right, I guess. But yeah, Dave Nugget was a fan of this shit. He was the only person I've ever known in my entire life to be a fan of this. Number 45 is Blue Hotel by Chris Isaac.
Now, you pronounce the B and you pronounce the H. No, it's not that, is it? It's... Can I state the... You mean the... Is that the Red Hotel? I can't really say what you're saying there, Mr. Isaac. You need to be clearer.
This is the only other track of his that I know after we brought forth the Orbison for him to get up to, because he starts quite low, doesn't he? And then he goes higher.
Yeah.
So they wheel him out behind the camera.
Look into the face of the Orbison and despair. But yes, they did. I don't like this song though. I don't.
No, it's not. I don't particularly like this.
No, it's wibbly wobbly. The guitar sound would make Hank Marvin proud, though, wouldn't it?
He would be. Well, he mixed it.
I imagine he did, even though he didn't mean to.
He didn't. He just walked past one day, and he was. It was instantly. What's the Telstarred or whatever it is?
And Hank Marvin in this context can have all sorts of different meanings, can't it?
It can. There's just a button on the mixing desk.
Exactly.
Just Telstar.
You play the guitar, Chris, and I'll Hank Marvin. Okay. Just close the curtains if you're doing that.
Absolutely. I don't want to see that.
I don't want to see that. He always does that song. It's always the same song.
Was that Blue Hotel? No, it wasn't. It was a cry for help. Help me.
Bring Orbison, he needs to be higher pitched than that. I can't understand what he's saying.
And at number 48 is Love Raises Its Ugly Head by Living Colour.
Funky, yeah.
Didn't like this one. Not really my cup of tea.
I remember hearing about Living Colour being a very important band, and I don't doubt that they are.
We've said it before,
but that whole funk movement, I'm not sure I get it from this song, but
this song I didn't like. No,
not really.
Number 49 is The Wagon by Dinosaur Jr. Sounds like Dinosaur Jr. Looks like Dinosaur Jr. Is Dinosaur Jr. I like that or you don't. I don't mind it. It's all right.
I associate that kind of sound with you in the 90s.
I could see that. Early 90s especially.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Number 55 is Fly to the Angels by Slaughter. I just, as soon as the video, I thought this was going to be like some kind of death metal or something like that. They came on, I was like, they can't have a name like Slaughter and look like this and sound like this. No.
It's a misnomer at best.
Absolutely. It made me drop my monocle.
Yes, I've dropped my tiny cup of tea and holding it in my little pinky, wasn't it? All went wrong. Horrible shit, that. Songs in the key of Lost Boys. Yeah. He sounds like a shit Robert Plant.
It does. I said, Barbara, bring the cloth.
He's touching cloth. Yeah, I don't know. Robert Plant-ish, I guess. Maybe not so much Robert Plant. Rubber Plant, maybe. I don't know.
Robert House Plant.
Badly watered, yeah. It's not growing so well, that one.
No, it's not. Number 84 is Love So True by Tim Simonon.
Yeah, Bomb the Boring.
Yeah, very generic, that, wasn't it?
Very. Heavy beats again, though. Heavy beats.
Very heavy. And finally, in at number 94 is Motown Junk by the Manic Street Preachers. Their second officially released single. It's not a bad song list. It's all right. Good example of their early punkiness. What they were like before they went,
Ironically, I tolerate this way better than most of their other stuff. So.
Okay. You tolerate this and then your children will be next.
Yeah, I that's the sort of stuff of this I hate. The stuff of this I like is the early Manic Street Preacher stuff.
The first album's okay, punky. Albums 2 and 3 are their high points.
Yeah, and that's the kind of the ones that I like. It's just the tracks that I know of that anyway.
Yeah, Gold Against Soul and Holy Bible.
Yeah.
There we go. Right, albums. Let's get to albums. There was nothing released on the 6th of January and nothing of note released on the 13th of January.
Nothing. Tra-la-la.
Let's get through these. 20th of January, in at number 4 was A Little Ain't Enough, the same album with the same name by Dave Lee Roth.
Guff,
rubbish. Wicked Game, number 6, in at number 6 by Chris. His compilation album of his records, it's got 11 songs for his first 3 albums. I didn't know he had 3 albums out.
No one did. Even he didn't know. He was surprised. He composed the 4th album as a response and then realised he'd recorded a further 6 albums without realising it. No one knows how.
It's because he was under the influence of the Orbison.
Yeah, he was, and he was just honking his way through there. Nobody can fully understand him, so they don't know whether he's saying stop the recording or start the recording. So they just assume that he goes, he's still singing? I think he is, don't keep it going.
Stuck in the Black Lodge from Twin Peaks, I think. In at number 36 is Step in the Arena by Gangstar.
Brown Sauce.
Yeah, I've never heard of these, but in 2007 it was named the greatest hip-hop album of all time by IGN.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is, and I don't doubt it's probably very good. It's not, I probably heard of the tracks off it, but not of the full albums and things.
Yeah.
So.
Hip Hop DX called it the album that cemented Gangstar as a timeless tag team.
Oh, I'll take, okay. Yeah,
okay.
Okay.
And number 40 is Orchestra! It's an exclamation mark on it, which is by Sir George Stoll Salty and Dudley Moore. So this was a collaboration, Dudley Moore and Sir George Salty in 1991 to create a Channel 4 television series designed to introduce audiences to the symphony orchestra. I went and made the mistake of looking at Sir George Salty's discography. He's a man with many albums. It's just loads and loads and loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of classical stuff. And I mean loads.
Wow.
So it's hard to actually find this one. I only found that because it was in the Dudley Moore bio bit. So I'm guessing this is the music from that. You can get it on DVD as well.
He recorded a lot of tribute albums to the Royal Navy, didn't he? Didn't know if you noticed that, but they weren't very popular because he called them salty seamen. And after that, his career went downhill. Nonetheless, boring album, nonetheless. Dudley Moore, A.
Oh, they tried to get him to do crisp adverts as well. But George Crisps didn't go.
George Crisp, he wouldn't do it. Nah, I can't do it. I can't be seen. It's the same reason we don't have Pepper. Peter Pepper is the guy that does all the trumpets. We can't have Salt and Pepper. They don't really exist.
So, yeah, when they were filming it, sort of thing, he got a bit aggro on set. don't employ him. He's a bit salty.
Salty Crisps. Salt and Shake. That would be their remix album, wouldn't it?
Salty and Shake.
Yeah, this is them shake and salt albums. You get the crisp and you shake the salt in them. Salt and shake.
Yeah, it'd be a remix of Salt and Pepper's work. 27th of January, in at straight at number 1 was Soul Cages by Sting.
Here he is again.
His
Stinging.
third full-length album, yeah. Well, actually, we just mentioned this was a concept album focusing on the death of Sting's father.
Tragic.
He developed writer's block after his father's death in 1987. He was unable to overcome this affliction by dealing with the death of his father through music. The single Why Should I Cry For You was written for the Soul Cage in 1989. And Sting has said that the rest of the album flowed quite easily after that.
After that first hurdle, yeah. Once I got over that bit, it was easy after that.
It was easy after that.
I suppose it would.
In at number 2 is All True Man by Alexander O'Neill. Smooth and big of drum.
Heavy drums, yeah.
In at number 24 is 1916 by Motorhead.
I could name you one Motorhead track, maybe two.
Maybe two. So. 9th studio album by them. Last album to feature Phil Filthy Animal Taylor on drums in its entirety. Over to you on this one at number 49, and Gary will be happy with this because this is Tyranny for You by Front 242.
Good album from them, actually, this.
It's their seminal one, isn't it?
Yeah, well, actually, the albums before this were very good, but this is the one that actually got them in charts and things.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I always thought, this is the one I know.
It's the first one that, because they were previously, they were on Wax Tracks, and this is the first one that was on Sony, I believe. So hence the reason I think it just got a little bit more promotion. It features in movies, some of the sound features in that. It had quite expensive videos, and it got in the Billboard charts and things like that. The singles off it did. It's a really good Front 242 album, though. That's that said. I remember listening to this quite a lot with Brown Sauce over time. Rhythm of Time is a brilliant track. Gripped by Fear, Tragedy for You, Leitmotif. They're all really brilliant tracks off that album. I was listening to a lot of industrial music at the time, including Front 242, Skinny Puppy, Frontline Assembly, Ministry, and many, many, many more. Even the offshoot projects, because they always had loads of offshoot projects. Frontline Assembly, for example, had Noise Unit, Cyperactive, and God knows how many more. In the mid-'80s, Front 242 had supported Ministry on one of their US tours, and Al Jorgensen from Ministry had actually pushed the record label Wax Tracks to take them on. Hence the reason they were on that label. But they outgrew that sound. And I think the direction they were going was more electro sounding and less guitar sounding, which is perhaps, the Ministry way. So that's the two strands of industrial. You either have the electro-technical side of it, or you have the kind of thunderous Motorheady style guitar sound, and those two things aren't necessarily mutually compatible always. There's a middle ground somewhere in there, maybe. So this album is kind of the first Sony Epic Records release. They also re-released their entire back catalogue and remastered and re-released as well, so on the Sony label. So all of that early Wax Track stuff, I forget the name. There's a couple of really good tracks left. They're just complete state of mind right now, but there's a couple of really classic tracks by them that were around at that time. But you know what? Front 242, well, they're a kind of eclectic mix, hints of Kraftwerk, Joy Division, Throbbing Gristle, Ministry, maybe influenced them some on there. There's a lot of that electro sound, but they're famous for their live performances and light shows. The tragedy for me, if you pardon the pun, is that I've never been to see them live. Probably never get a chance now. They do still do live tours and live shows, but how good they are now, I don't know.
Sure, they're good, but who knows? And finally, in at number 50 is The Simpsons Sing the Blues.
They do.
Just, Simpsons album. They were just, it was the marketing had gone into overdrive on The Simpsons at this point.
Yeah, it was just, their popularity was just going from big to humongous global super league stuff. And this is a perfect example of, multi-mix marketing at the time.
Indeed. There we go. That's it. That's it for your music. We're coming back. We'll go take a break, and we'll come back. We've still got 2 more games to get through. So please do, stick with us, stay with us, keep hanging on there. And we're back. Still got 2 more games. Is this? Yeah, this episode is the last episode we did one at the end of 1990 was coin-up-tastic one. It was arcade conversion-tastic.
It was.
So, and I thought, we've got this. Well, strange enough, our next game you may think is an arcade conversion, but it's not. It is Strider 2. Strider 2.
Stride further.
Stride harder. After the jerky stinkfest that was the original port of Strider, have they managed to right the wrongs in this sequel, or is the obvious rhyming insult more apt for Strider 2? Let's find out. Released by US Gold, £10.99.
Goodness
which I
gracious
think
me.
is a bit much considering this isn't actually a bloody coin up. It's not an arcade conversion. It's copyright Capcom though. Maybe they had to pay the Capcom tax. It's developed by Tiertex. Uh-oh.
The sign of quality.
Yeah, code by Paul Cole. He did the original Strider conversion, and he will also go on to do the conversions for Mercs and Die Hard 2. Weirdly, it's also got music by Mark Tate, who's done a number of games, but none of it I can really remember. Although I should remember the music for Strider after playing this. I'll come to why later. This is not a port of any arcade game. It's just a sequel that was created by US Gold. We've seen that before with things like Target Renegade.
We have.
There was something else as well. There was another game, wasn't there, where there was just a weird sequel.
Yeah, there is another one. I can't
remember what it was, though. Capcom would not make a sequel to Strider until 1999. In fact, I went and played. I didn't realize at the time. I thought, I'll go have a look at the arcade conversion because I thought it was a conversion. And I thought, but this is quite advanced for 1991. It's like all polygons and stuff. And I was like, oh, then I looked, went, oh, but that Strider that Capcom did in 1999 has nothing to do with this one. In fact, they vehemently say, this is nothing to do with this. Okay. Okay. Anyway, there is a story to this. And I remember the Strider was on Earth one. It was running around doing stuff, whatever. The Warrior, so the story for this is the Warrior returns from his conquest in the Soviet bloc. So you're in Russia in the first one. To find his services are required on another world.
All right, okay. Weird.
that took a turn in the sentence.
That took a twist, didn't it?
The female leader of the planet Magenta has been kidnapped by alien terrorists who are now holding her world to ransom. In return for his aid, the Magentans have given the Warrior a devastating high-velocity gyro laser and a matter converter that, when sufficiently charged, will cybernetically mutate him into an elite mechanical combat unit. I just want you to take notice of that word elite there. In this form, he should be able to defeat anything the terrorists can throw at him, or so the Magentans have told him.
Dun, 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 dun.
I'm guessing like your Strider, because at no point in that there's Strider mentioned.
No, he's not.
So why another world? Why? What's going on?
Why not?
Imagine
the Magentans, they can't help themselves.
Yeah,
you know?
it's like this is like Renegade 3, isn't it? When he suddenly went time traveling.
Yeah. They've gone off the chart stupid.
It's like, oh God, I don't know. Anyway, the game loads. It's got a loading screen. Eerily, a lot of this game is going to be, well, some of that's this. It's eerily reminiscent of the first game. It's that same wizard, which in this game, clearly.
Stupid.
But now it just says Strider 2 on it. It looks exactly the same. We get a title screen. It's got the word Strider. There's 2 swords going through it this time. And there's a high score table at the top that's off center.
Just don't even get me started on that.
Just put it in the middle. Put it in the bloody middle. There's nothing to do but listen to the music. And the music here is the same music as Strider. In fact, the entire musical suite is the same as the first game.
Yeah.
So they've not changed the music. I wonder if Mark Tate got paid again.
I bet he didn't.
Pressing the fire button starts the game, and we get our first glimpse of the game. So it takes place in the game itself. I'll get to what it looks like. The game takes place in the top half of the screen, just top half. The other half is given over to the overly large UI, like the first game, which has a picture of Strider on the right and a robot of some sort on the left.
Yeah, it's Kevin, isn't it? We looked at the scrap verts. Hi, Kevin, come back.
Yeah, with the score, lives, and time remaining for the level on a display in the center. Underneath these there's 2 energy bars. So the one on the right is Strider's health. There's nothing actually saying which one they are. They're just energy bars. The other is the energy bar for the mech that you'll turn into when you reach the end of level bosses, but it's empty at this point. You don't know any of this. So again, with some minor adjustments, it looks pretty similar to the first game's UI. They've not changed a lot here. But the game itself, well, you know that song? I'm blue, da ba dee. It's like,
yeah.
Someone went forward in time, listened to that, and came back. So the first game wasn't great, suffered from slow movement, but it kind of looked like Strider.
Yeah.
Yes,
it did.
It was C64 Strider. It just had problems in the animations and smoothness.
Yeah, it did.
So that's fine, multicolored provider. Here, Strider's now all blue and white, and he looks like some kind of frost goblin or something.
Yeah.
Because if you were going to say, do me a frost goblin in a C64 sprite style, this is what you would draw. Lots of blues and white.
Yeah, with the spiky hair and everything.
Yeah. All the walking enemies that appear are in the same colour scheme, so blue and white. And weirdly, we're in some kind of forest, I think. Controls for this, the walk left to right as you're doing. It's the left to right. I don't know. It's not a shooter, is it? It's a walk and... Anyway.
I don't know what you call this.
I don't know, yeah. You're walking like whip thing, because you've got that, the Strider sword thing. Okay, so you're doing that. So when you're walking, a press of the fire button will whip out the glowy blade.
Yeah.
But if you stand still, you fire this really short-range crappy gun from somewhere.
Oh, that blob.
It just appears.
Pew, pew,
it's
pew,
rubbish,
pew, pew.
yeah. Up his jump. And I'd say this, the somersault's faster here. than the first game. I mean, there's
He's
one
clutching
thing.
at the straws there, aren't you?
There's one thing that the actual animations are faster in this game. You can't, they are. And you can also crouch with down for, I don't know, whatever reason. I never needed to.
Because you want to.
There's 5 levels to get through in this one. There's the forest, where the boss is a helicopter. There's the ruined city, where the boss is a helicopter. Same one. The underground, where the boss is a dinosaur. There's the rooftops, where you need to fight a giant head. And finally, the last level, the prison ship, where you must kill a humanoid of some sort. I don't, it just looks dead. I don't know what it is.
Rubbish.
In between these levels, you'll get an image of a woman in some kind of prison. I'm guessing it's the nameless female leader of Magenta. I don't know what her name is, but yeah. So whatever.
Claire.
I mean, remember, to be fair, it's a nice still image. It's not a badly drawn one sort of thing.
Yeah,
but go back to like Karateka.
Yeah.
1984, and she's in the cage and animations and stuff, cinematics, and they get this now. Oh, so at the end, if you win, there's an image of you carrying her to safety.
Yay.
Which is nice. So what do you say about this shit? The first level is a basic left to right run and swing. There's a sort of alien structure bit a little way in, which you can sort of go up in a lift and go around. And for some reason, there's a boss at the top of this that will kill you for no reason. I don't know what he is. Just some robot will come on and just do you in. You've got to basically explore these areas to get extra energy, because that's really the point of the game. I don't understand this. You progress through the levels, you'll find energy pods. So these fill up that second energy bar, the mech's energy bar in the UI, when you find them. And when you get to the boss, you just instantly turn into the mech. And it looked like a Skeksis on tank tracks.
It did, actually.
But again, all in blue. I don't understand what was thinking. The backgrounds vary from level to level. There's nothing really to say about this. You just run from left to right, slicing at stuff. There's enemies. It's one of those games where enemies just constantly spawn from the left or the right, and you slice them. And there's different types of enemies. You can duck under some of them, the ones that fly. There's nothing to this at all. The backgrounds vary from level to level. None really stand out, except for the third one, for all the wrong reasons, because it's yellow and brown. And you've got blue sprites moving over them. This is a color combination to, strike fear into the heart of any graphic designer. It just looks dreadful. It ain't pretty. The one thing I will say is the enemy bosses, the helicopter, is quite nicely drawn. That's actually all right. Yeah. It's quite all right. The helicopter thing with a good sprite, and it moves, and it does, like I said, this does actually move faster than the first game. It's not a Strider game though. This is not Strider. If you had just given, instead of a sword, the swingy sword, if you just had a projectile coming out from the left and right, you could have called this Rygar 2.
Yeah.
And it's more similar to Rygar.
Or Bionic Commandos.
Bionic Commando, Rygar, all the left and right sort of one-shooty stuff.
Yeah.
This is not a Strider game. You can still hang on walls and climb up them, seemingly for no reason, though, because there's nowhere to go. You just climb into the ceiling. So I don't know what that was all about. The first level is very linear. You basically walk left to right, go up a slight little bit of a platformy bit, carry on left to right, jump on a wall, jump over it, and then you get to the boss. And when the enemies are just constantly respawning. To respawn in wave of uninteresting foes who die at the merest touch of your blade or bullets. They also respawn in places they cannot spawn from. Like I went into that little structure and there's a wall to the right. So I ran to the right, found that one up to the left. And then because the wall was now off screen, an enemy spawned there. Like, well, you can't spawn there because there's a wall. There's nowhere for you to come from. There's no kind of sort of thought process behind this. It's just stupid. They just spawn to the left or right of you. Yeah, there's nothing designed about this at all. It's just run left to right, enemies spawn in. It's Kung Fu Master. It's that kind of thing. It's that kind of nonsense. Well, how old's Kung Fu Master at this point? 6 years old? Must be.
Yeah.
It's way worse. It's Green Beret, but terribly, terribly worse. So the only thing designed about this is the placement of the energy pods. You go find them. You do get to an end boss. All your mech can do, supposedly this brilliant mech, which is a Skeksis on tank tracks, you can just trundle back and forth.
Yep.
And so I just found the helicopter just destroyed me.
Yep.
And then I was back to being Strider. And when you die, you get put back to the beginning of the level.
Yep.
What is this? It's just crap. It all feels massively underwhelming. I don't know what to say about this game other than it's rubbish. It's fast. Yes, it's faster than the first game. The new colour scheme and the sprites are really ugly. The levels are boring. The enemies are annoying and endless. The end of level bosses are no fun. And the whole thing just seems like a bad idea, using the same music in an effort to scam money from the public. We worried about this with the crap vert, and we were right to do so. I've got nothing else to say about this shitfest. It's an uninteresting and ultimately pointless sequel. It got 66% in Zapped. That's the two-third mark. Remember, we say about the two-third mark. There's two-thirds. This is all right. The graphics aren't good. The sound is the same as Strider. The gameplay is dreadful. What two-thirds of this are good?
No.
I agree. What is it? I'm going to say it. I've got to say it. Strider
You have
poo.
to. Yeah. That's to be done.
I have to be. It has. We've tried to lean away from the scatological comments and the there's kind of easy puns, but in this case, it works. This is awful. This was dreadful. I was laughing at this. I couldn't. No rubbish. What did you think?
I thought it was a joke. When I loaded it up, I thought it was a joke. I even texted you a message saying, "This is a joke.
You did.
This is real.
It is.
It's absolutely crap." I mean, aside from the weird blue sprites in it that are really badly drawn anyway, and they just look rubbish. The weird, and he's blue, the UI's yellow. This is US guff, isn't it? I mean, there's no real justification for this game. It didn't need to exist. They made this exist out of nothing, and that's where it should have stayed. It's awful. I thought the controls, all right, you could move around a bit quicker, but it was still blocky, horrible nonsense, and it lacked any power or any purpose. I don't get it. I don't get why they would think this was a passable thing for $10.99. It's just a rip-off. They're ripping people off at this point. It's not good. I couldn't find any real redeeming features about this at all. It didn't deserve 66%. There's nothing I liked about this. It's awful to play. All the problems of Strider are back, but in smaller, bluer form. Mm-hmm. Yes, okay, there's maybe a little bit more. Well, even then, the levels feel quite big, but that's because you're smaller. So it's an endless expanse of nothing to do and nothing to explore. Nothing really feels very much fun. I didn't like anything to do with it. I thought it was rubbish.
Yep.
I can't quite believe we're in 1991 and this is the level of stuff. I mean, goodness me, we only had Midnight Resistance a month ago.
Yes, I know.
And I look at that and I look at all the great things that had, and I look at this and think, what on earth? But I tell you what this reminded me of, and this is no disrespect to anybody that's studied at this level, but many moons ago, when teaching game design and stuff like that, students would often create their first game using something like Game Maker or something like that. At this point, they're learning the craft and they're learning the details, and so this might be one of the first games that you often get a side-scrolling game with jumping and shooting. You often get that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they ace this in it. But the average game, maybe someone's first attempt, this is actually a lot worse than that. The first attempts you accept, okay, there's maybe you need to work on this and do that. But this looks like a really crap version of a game that somebody just didn't put any thought into. Tiertex have made other things as bad as this as well. So this is just their MO. I thought this was laughable because it's so crap. There's nothing good here, nothing good at all. We were right about the crap vert, and we were bloody well right about the saddle. It was rubbish, rubbish. No, awful. When you converted to the robot at the end of boss, it caught me by surprise. It was just like, oh, my robot.
It just
now.
happens, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, ping, robot, you're a robot now. Go for it. I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And then it just instantly got killed. And I was like, oh, I'm Strider again. I was more agile and able to do more as Strider.
Yeah. The other thing as well is it says in the instructions that only if you collect enough energy will you turn into the robot. That's not true. You will turn into the robot no matter what energy level you have.
It just forces you into that stupid robot thing. It has no bearing on anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's just rubbish. No more rubbish.
Just
and
rubbish.
That music, get lost. Oof.
Yeah, it's the same. It's exactly the same. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, this is rubbish. There we go. Strider poo.
Yep.
Let's move along. We've still got one game more this week. And Graham, that's over to you to tell us all about Helter Skelter, man.
Another $10.99 game. What's going on?
I don't know.
Why are they increasing the prices? This got 70% in Zap. This was published by Audiogenic. Now, they've been around a while. Not known for publishing great things, though. They published Alice in Videoland, for example.
Ooh.
Yeah. The developer here is Double Vision Software, and I think they probably had it by the end of this. Coder was John Harris. Graphics are Herman Serrano. Now, he did Carrier Command and Savage and Weird Dreams. And the music here is Dave Whittaker, as is the sound effects, as are the sound effects.
Mm.
So you'll start the game off. There's a half-decent loading screen, actually, for this. It isn't bad as loading screens go. Jaunty, let's say colourful, but it's quite well realised for what it is. Introduces the kind of concept of the game. Mm. And then the game will start, and you'll see the title screen. Now, before I dive into that, let's talk a little bit about what's it all about. So in the instructions, it says monsters everywhere. Running around, falling from the sky, jumping from platforms, monsters above, monsters below, monsters heading straight for you. Catch them if you can, and bounce on them while they're vulnerable. But be quick, because when the timer runs out, your balls will burst. Sounds horrible.
Especially when you deliver it like that.
I don't think I'm ready for that. So there's a whole bunch of levels to this. Weirdly, when you get to the getting started part of this, it says 1 or 2 can play. And then it says screen 61 to 70 are impossible unless 2 are playing. And so these screens are skipped when playing one person. So I suppose there's a little bit of extra stuff in there. Anyway, how to play. You control a bouncing ball called Billy the bouncing ball. In a 2-player game, the second player controls his cousin, Bobby. Bobby the bouncing ball.
Bobby
and
Ball.
Billy the
Bobby Ball.
Yes, Bobby Ball.
Okay.
Press left or right to propel him sideways. Press the fire button or jump key to make him jump in the air. Helter Skelter has 80 different screens for you to conquer. On each screen, there are a number of monsters that wander around the screen along platforms and ledges. Sometimes monsters are trapped by walls, forced to remain on a particular ledge, but often they can roam from ledge to ledge, floating down to the ledge below whenever they fall off the edge. All you need to do is squash the monsters with the ball before the countdown timer reaches 0. It couldn't be easier, or could it? The problem is, only one of the monsters, indicated by an arrow, is vulnerable at any time. Hit the wrong monster, and it splits into 2 baby monsters, making your task even more difficult. But hit the right monster, and you'll be that much closer to your target. And then it says controlling the bounce. When you press jump, what actually happens is that the ball is subjected to a downward force.
This is really confusing. This
is now, just substitute my voice for that guy out of the Fast Show who in the pub was going, right, you give me 10 pence and I'll give you, I'll tell you, you give me 2 5s and I'll give you these. Oh, hang on a minute. No, come on, chop, mate. It's that.
I just thought this was don't do what Donnie don't does.
Exactly, it is that, yeah. So when you press jump, what actually happens is the ball is subjected to a downward force. Fine. If the ball is on a ledge at the time, this force squeezes the ball against the ledge, which means that it bounces up as soon as the force is removed. All clear so far.
So it pushes it down to bounce it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
If the ball is in the air and traveling downwards at the time you press the jump button, it will obviously bounce higher next time it lands. Obviously, Adrian.
Obviously.
However, if the ball is traveling up when you press jump, the downward force acts to slow the ball down rather than speed it up. Are we all clear?
Yeah.
It's often important to be able to do this, but of course, you have to get the timing right. An experienced player can make the ball stop dead by pressing the jump button at a fraction of a second after the ball bounces, but hit it just too soon and the ball will bounce even higher. Okay. Literally makes no sense whatsoever.
I kind of get it, but it's just a really convolutedly...
Yeah.
It's like,
it's complex way, so you control the ball bouncing, really.
Yeah.
Each monster you squash is worth between 500 and 8,000 points. The first monster scores 500 points, but the next one is worth 1,000 points, provided you don't hit a wrong monster in between. The score keeps doubling, so as long as you don't hit a monster that splits into 2 until the maximum of 8,000 points is reached. That just ends there. If you complete the screen before the time runs out, you score a bonus of 1,000 points for each second remaining. There's another bonus, the skill bonus, which varies from screen to screen and halves every time you press the jump button. By using as few jumps as possible, you can score thousands of points in bonuses. With practice, you'll find that you don't need to jump nearly as often as you do when you first begin playing. Scoring 200,000 points awards an extra ball. That's a very high number. You start with 5. However, you cannot have more than 10 balls remaining at any time. Tokens. Occasionally, a spinning token will appear, bearing one of the letters E, X, T, R, or A. Collect all 5 to earn a bonus ball, but beware, if you collect 2 letters the same, they cancel each other out. Mean, that is. Other tokens also appear from time to time. If you collect them, you can earn extra time, or else gain a temporary advantage. One token makes the monsters stand still for a time, another makes them all vulnerable simultaneously. Yet another freezes the countdown timer. There's even a token that will take you straight to the next screen. When you have squashed all the monsters on a screen, the clock stops, allowing you to collect any remaining tokens before they disappear. Tokens collected after completing the screen score 1,000 points each. If you successfully complete the first 10 screens, a 4-letter password is revealed that allows you to start the game on screen 11 if you wish. Further passwords are revealed every 10 screens. The password for screen 81, the first user-defined screen, is user. On the Spectrum Amstrad, the user-defined screens are designed using the program on the second side of the cassette. I don't know if that came in the C64 version. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I don't know. Doesn't sound like it. And then it goes on to describe one of the best features of Helter Skelter is the built-in screen designer, which allows you to create your own screens. Devilishly difficult, blah, 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 blah. It says, I think it is on the C64. Now, I didn't try the level designer, I have to say.
No, I didn't have time.
So I didn't have time for that. No time, as they say. Okay, the game then. Well, that's the game. So it's principally a single-screen arcade-type puzzler by design. The start screen loads, and you'll get the Helter Skelter writing at the top in that kind of colour wavy way. We've seen it loads of times. Very arcade-inspired, this. Although the music, I thought, was Dave Whittaker having what could only be described as a bad day.
It's not the best, is it?
Really dreary, lifeless tune. It's awful. Worst one I've ever heard of Dave Whittaker. It's a short loop of dreariness. The game then. So you'll press fire to start the game, and the game will begin. The stroboscopic background will befuddle your eyes within seconds. Yeah. But prior to that happening, you may get a view of what the main screen is. At the top, you've got a UI. The UI is composed mostly of text, which is your bonus numbers, your current number of lives, the score you've achieved. And obviously there's the 2-player variation as well on there, which, if you do it that way, you can use that one up. And there's also in there the extra sort of points indicators as you pick them up, and the countdown timer, which on the first level is a summary 14 seconds, which is quite short.
It's quite short.
The main screen of the game, that's about 2 characters high, maybe 3. The main screen is the main game is the rest of the screen. On the first level, there are 2 platforms which you are sat atop of one of on the left. You are a brown ball, and below you there are some alien-looking things, look a bit like Gilberts, wandering backwards and forwards. One of them has an arrow on its head. The idea, as I've already stated in the very complicated description, is to bounce your ball onto the creatures that have the arrow on their head, because if you don't, you will either miss and you're wasting your time, or if you land on the wrong one, they will split into 2 and thus create more difficulty for your overall mission. Periodically, as I said, bonus things will appear, and all the while you'll be able to collect those should you want to, and extra points and all the things I've already described. You control this fiasco with the joystick, and such as you can describe it as a control system. And it's initially, you're thrown in at the deep end in this game immediately. So the controls, basically, you can use left and right to maneuver it and and it will bounce natively because of the downward force. So you will bounce when you drop. But in order to make it jump, you have to press the button to make it jump upwards, and then you can control it with the left and right stick. And the idea is that you bounce over the top of the various aliens to try and land on the ones that you need to squash in the right order. Now, the force of physics is applied here, so you can, if you drop from a higher height, you will bounce higher. And gradually reduce in bounce. And then, of course, the more power you provide, I think the longer you hold the fire button down, the more power you'll have in your jump. But I couldn't honestly say at this point. I was too busy bouncing around the screen to try and panicking about the amount of time I had left to really worry about that. So the game is quite hard to control. And that's partly because of the bouncing and partly because of the nature of the way you can control it. Because it feels like the bouncing goes out of control quite quickly, and it's hard to get back into control. And I'll come to why that's kind of the problem of the game in a little while. The graphics also, albeit that they're quite well realized in the fact that they look kind of quirky and fun, they're a bit hard on the eye on that first level. You have these kind of parallaxy type scrolly backgrounds that we've seen where characters are kind of used to repeat themselves over and over again in like a loop. Yeah. The first level, for example, your aliens are green, the background's kind of a brown and orange, and then you've got blue sort of platforms. That's just quite hard on the eye. There's a lot of things sort of zapping your eyeballs here. It's a little bit hard on the eye. Everything's medium res. It has that kind of blocky medium res fudginess about the graphics as well. They're passable at best. I think they're a little bit small, which is part of the problem. Your ball is probably too small. This might have been more fun as something else other than a ball, or maybe you could vary that. But in a little brown ball, you are essentially a Malteser dropping on the heads of aliens in this. And it's, I don't know, there's just prior problems with that. So that's how the game plays. As you progress through each of the levels, the parameters of the game shift only in that the characters and the aliens that you feature are either on platforms or on other levels, and they do change, and there are variations of what they do. The arrow is still over their head, though, and you've still got to navigate your way to them and bounce them. So there's a little bit of strategy in there, all the while the time is running down. Now, on the second level, you only get, 20 odd seconds, which is slightly more, but it's not a lot of time.
It's not. It's really not.
So the panic is on, and obviously if you lose a life, then you get to try and level again. You lose a life. If you lose all your lives, it's game over, and you can quickly restart and get back into it if you want to. If you're lucky enough to have made it to level 10 and you've got the code, you can punch that in and do that if you want to do that. Fine. And that's how the game plays. That's fundamentally it. There's lots of sound effects and music and jingly bits. They're not so bad in-game. They're better than the opening title music. They sort of go with it. And the instant in of this game, as in when you press your fight button, you just start and you're off, does make you feel like, there's maybe a little bit of repeatability. So you can just get back on with it because you will die a lot in this. You're not going to do it any quickly. But the pace of the game moves it along. So I can see what the aim of this was. A fun, bouncing game in the tradition of an arcade. I get that. I don't think this is based on an arcade of any type, or it's certainly not a conversion, but I don't know that for sure because I didn't dive into that. Maybe someone of our patrons. I don't think it is. There might be some obscure Japanese arcade puzzle game. And in some ways, this is a fun game, but in many more ways it isn't. The graphics are okay for what they are in this. Nice arcade styling, a bit on the heavy pixel side of the C64, and the pixel painting style is not very subtle, but it is there and it is okay. The character, there's kind of a fudgy but cutesy kind of vibe they're going for, and they just about make it there. They're not in the same crappy level as Strider 2, for example. There is a sense of arcade purpose to the graphics. Okay, fine. And it's all sort of single screen. That's okay. The physics is okay. The central premise of this game is the physics, and that is good. It is an application of physics to a ball. It's a single screen progressive puzzler. And we've seen many of those types of games on the C64 over the years. None of them have, there's been some tragedies in there, but more often than not, if they get the formula about right, they're okay. They kind of work. Problem I have with this is the controls are a little bit difficult to grasp in the short time frame you have to grasp them. So my complaint with this was that there's a nice idea for a game. I like the idea of having stomping on things that split into two. Those are always good fun arcade games, and there's fun to be had in that, especially if you're like, oh my God, this screen's overwhelming and you've got to try and get the right. Now, I get that. Overwhelming nature of that kind of gameplay as an arcade-style puzzler, there's fun to be had in there, it's for sure. But you need an in to that. This game was missing its intro levels. It was missing the first level with one or two creatures on. You drop down, the game freezes. This is your ball. In order to control the ball, you need to move left and right, and then you move it left and right. Wow, that you've moved it left and right, great. But what about if you need to bounce? It needs that level of introduction to the control system.
Yeah.
To throw you in at the deep end with 15 seconds to be able to figure it out is not enough time. Because it's not enough time to do it, you spend a lot of that. I mean, you have to go with the kind of graces of the game. If you are willing to just go through that pain and just keep trying it until you sort of get it, and you'll befuddle your way through the first level, maybe the second, maybe the third, and maybe by that time, you're starting to get to grips with the physics. But if you don't, that constant going back to that first level of 15 seconds, maybe you're going to stick with it, maybe you're not. So that stupidly short time for the level intro, I think, is a big restriction on the fun that you can have with this game, because it's hard to get past that, particularly the first level. The first level of a game should not be short, should not be too difficult. The first level should be easy on purpose so that you can lead into being more difficult. Bring your difficulty in, by all means, but give people time to figure out the controls. 15 seconds or whatever it is not enough. You're very quickly stomping on the wrong creatures. They double every time, and before long, you've got loads of things happening on the screen, and you still don't feel like you're in control, and by that time, you're dead, and the game's over, and you're starting again. You think, well, hang on a minute. It doesn't feel like there's a good in. So it badly needed that kind of intro level. Make the first few levels simple so you can get to grips. It really needed it. This is so instantly punishing and frustrating that you can get over that if you're willing to do that with more levels and a bit more time. But I don't know. I think a lot of people's patience, especially if they've spent 11 quid on this, I think the patience may very well have run out by that time. And it's a pity as well, because I liked the idea and they nearly delivered on the cutesy stuff, and it nearly delivered a good arcade puzzler stomper kind of fun game. The sounds, they're a little bit dreary, but the in-game sounds would have pulled it off, I think, if they just got that blend right and made the in for the game. I don't know. My final thought on this was, when the in of a game actually pushes you out, then you're not in, to use their kind of descriptions of their, I'm trying to use their kind of logic.
When it's up, it's not down. When you push down, you need to be in.
Exactly. The final footnote for me with this, the price. This is budget all day long. This should not be 11 quid. If this was a budget game, I would be more lenient on it, but it's not. You're asking a lot of money for an arcade puzzler that isn't even an arcade game. And on top of that, you've made it very difficult to get in. So I persevered with it and got to level 2. But by that point, I'm like, I don't know if I can be bothered to go for another 60 levels of this. What did you think?
Yeah. So just to say, this originally came out on the Amiga in 88, because there's an image of a disc with Helter Skelter on it in 1988 on Moby Games. So I just saying the Zapped review, it was kind of nicely loaded for when it came out on the Amiga. So I think this originated on the Amiga, then was ported to everything. There's Amstrad, Atari ST, BBC Micro, DOS, Electron, Spectrum. It was on everything. Right. But it's weird, isn't it? It's an interesting arcade puzzler. It seems to have tried to marry Whizball and Bomb Jack.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Because like Bomb Jack, you have the bombs that are lighting up and you get bonuses for getting them first, don't you? That kind of thing. That. And then you've got Whizball with also a little bit of that. What was that one we played? Emotion?
Yeah, a little bit of that.
Where you hit them, if you hit the wrongs into the wrong one, they split into two.
Yeah.
So there's kind of elements that it's taking from a few. But I don't know if it obviously doesn't predate Whizball and Bomb Jack. It might predate Emotion, though. The problem here is, and you're right, is trying to control the ball. It's just a bit too challenging. Trying to get it to land on the right monster rather than the wrong one. It just turns into a manic free-for-all. And I got to about levels 5 or 6, and trying to actually bounce it onto some of the higher platforms, which are really narrow gaps, you just end up bouncing off somewhere. And you're like, oh, God. Yeah. So I soon ended up with multiple monsters running about, a ball that seems to have a will of its own. I'd have to say, like these single-screen puzzles, exact same thing. I didn't mind it. It's all right. It's just a bit too manic for my taste. Concept's an interesting one, though. Visuals are quite well drawn. As you said, the backgrounds are a bit too busy on the eye. Reminded me of like
Gremlin games,
Grid Runner or Pod.
Yeah,
Sean Southern stuff and the Minter stuff. It reminded me of that and some other stuff we've seen that do this kind of thing. But it's all right. 70% it got. Yeah, maybe. I'm not. I don't know if there was much skill involved in my playing of this. I was just bouncing all over the place. It took me. It takes a bit of a while to get used to it. Bit pricey though, and I've exactly what you've written. Bit pricey. Budget price. This would have been a winner.
Yeah,
$2.99, and you'd have had a proper. Oh, this is a really good £3.
Yeah, budget puzzler.
Single concept thing.
Yeah.
£11 though. Ooh, that's not sure about that. And it's not like it's got a license to pay for. It's a port from it's a 2-year-old port from the Amiga.
Yep.
So if this had just been ported straight down onto the Kix label or Zeppelin or something like that, I'd have think that this is a great little budgeter. £11 though, no chance.
Yeah, no, I agree.
No, but I didn't mind it. It's all right, but it's a budget game. It's a budget game at this point,
and it needed a softer in and better instructions. Really.
It needed better onboarding.
Yeah, better onboarding. That's what I was looking for, and better instructions.
Yeah, so you get people into this going like that. Just one monster on the first thing with an arrow above its head.
Yeah.
Bounce on it.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly that.
Second screen, 2 monsters. One's got an arrow that you'll hit first. You can't help because they're on different sides of you. There's a pole and you got to bounce over it. The one on the other side has got the thing. You bounce on that, and then the arrow changes to the other one.
Yeah.
I understand this game.
Yep.
Okay. Then on the third one, open it up, 3 monsters.
Yep.
And then the puzzle. And you've got 80 levels. So it's not like your first few couldn't be those kind of basic tutorial ones.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's the thing that you're saying about like students and stuff we said about Strider. It's the thing we struggle with. So educate students about is like you're onboarding. You know how to play your game because you've made it. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. So you need to teach me. And this is a bit tricky for that. But there you go. It's not bad though. Helter Skelter is too expensive. Too expensive. And that's it for this week. We're back. We're back. 1991 is up and running. We have done our first thing. So if you like the sound of my voice, Graham can do it. Where I work at the university, we've started a podcast which is called Games Every Designer Should Play. And essentially we're picking games. There's 3 of us who are doing it, and we're all the game design lecturers. And we're going like on a round robin. And each week we started up with one. We've got 5 episodes out, and we're doing games that we think designers should play and what you can, as game designers, sort of educating game design, what you can take from them and what you can look at. So we've got 5 episodes out so far. We've done Portal, Cocoon, Inscription, BioShock, and we just released the 5th one, which is Thank Goodness You're Here, which it's so funny. Thank Goodness You're Here. If I recommend you play one game, it's only a couple of hours, and if you get a chance, if you got one game, play Thank Goodness You're Here because it's so funny. It's just so funny. But yeah, so if you want to give that a listen, it'd be really cool. Or just let people know. Obviously, it's not retro based, but if you're into game design and you want to hear a sort of a podcast that's got me on it and some others that we're sort of talking about that, they're only about an hour each long. Each episode, so give that a shout out for something else I'm doing. And if you want to support us, then you can do, obviously. You can do that by going to our Patreon, patreon.com/Zapped to the Past. We'll be happy to have you over there. It's less than the price of a pint of beer, especially if you're in certain parts of the UK. Probably half a pint.
Yeah, not even that.
At these stages. So you can go over there, patreon.com/Zapped to the Past, and join in, get the episodes early and ad-free, join the Discord, any bonus stuff we put out, get involved in the end of year podcast, Ask the Podcast, all those kind of things. That would be cool. And obviously just support us because that's great. You can buy us a Ko-fi, ko-fi.com, co-fi/Zapped to the Past, or you can just give us a shout out on Twitter or X or Blue Sky or Threads or Facebook or Instagram or all those kind of things, which we're all over as well. And there you go. Feels good to be back after a bit of a break.
Yeah, this is it. We're back.
Nice to be into it again.
Aye.
We'll see how 1991 goes. Started off with some interesting games because we looked at Navy SEALs today, which was okay, but I think this episode seems to be controllingly challenged.
Yeah, it's a good description. Yeah, it is.
Navy SEAls was controls and 11, Snowstrike. You need to tell us how to get to it. What do you have to do? Yeah, controls. Strider 2. Yeah. And Helter Skelter, which was an interesting idea. A couple get nearly there. So close, but should have been a budget game. Next week we carry on. It's a 3-episode month. So next week we're looking at RoboCop 2, another big ocean cartridge game. We're also looking at The Spy Who Loved Me,
Ooh.
Don't know what that one will be like. Where Emlyn Hughes' arcade quiz,
Stupid.
Dragon Breed,
Oh, no.
and something called Chips Challenge.
What's this $10.99 price tag suddenly appeared from? Is there?
It's the 90s, man. We've moved on from greed is good.
I know, but $10.99 is such a stupid price, isn't it? $9.99 was a tenner. So you give a £10 note, penny, it's a tenner. No, you've got to carry an extra quid around. That's annoying.
I know. It's inflation. It's inflation, man.
Yeah,
We're all getting paid more.
It is. Yeah, maybe.
or not at the time. Ridiculous. Yeah. So that's what we've got coming up next week. Don't know. That's about it, I think. You got anything you want to add, Graham?
No, I think we're back. No, 1981 is back with a whimper as usual. Let's see if anything else can come out that's good over the next few episodes.
Indeed. So on that note, I think we'll say goodbye. Go listen to the podcast if you want. That's cool. But as ever, I have been Adrian Mills.
And I have been Graham Raddings.
And you have been listening to Zapped to the Past. And we will be back again next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapTother, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zap to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zap to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings, and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zap to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.